Chapter 1060. Zhong Ao flipped the container in his hand and the green liquid began pouring out. Each drop was as clear as rainwater, but it seemed to possess its own spirituality as it fell onto Shuiyu's body and drilled into her body through her pores. Shuiyu's pale face gradually became rosy as this liquid seeped into her body, and her heartbeat also became much stronger than before. Yang Kai watched intently as his heart calmed slightly. Zhong Ao really had some ability, and Yang Kai could clearly feel that Shuiyu's condition was much better than before. After the green liquid was completely absorbed by Shuiyu, Zhong Ao took 2 steps back, a pained expression appearing on his face, as if the pill and the green liquid were both very valuable to him. "Senior, is she cured just like that?" Yang Kai asked in surprise. "Cured?" Zhong Ao glanced sideways at him and sneered, "How can the poison of the profound Yin sunflower water be so easily cured? You're too naive." Although the profound Yin sunflower water is a precious cultivation treasure, it also possesses great destructive properties. Any ordinary person who comes into contact with it will die. Even an origin-returning realm cultivator cannot resist the power of the profound Yin sunflower water. This little girl's physique seems to be somewhat special, and the artifacts she wears are also of extremely high grade, otherwise she would have already died. Just now I just maintained her vitality, she won't die for another 1 or 2 days. What happens after that?" Yang Kai asked eagerly. "That's hard to say." Zhong Ao slowly shook his head. "If you can refine a pill to save her, she will be able to recover. If you can't, and you should prepare to collect her corpse." Yang Kai paled as he hurriedly cupped his fists and respectfully said, "Senior, please show me the way." "Good person." Zhong Ao raised his brow and laughed loudly. "This old master is not a good person. I helped you maintain her vitality, so you have to pay me back. And if you can tell me where the profound Yin sunflower water is, this old master can show you the way out." Yang Kai didn't even think about it. "I can tell you." Holly Ka, Lin Mu Feng, and the others wanted to conceal the existence of the profound Yin sunflower water, but Yang Kai didn't care too much. For him, there was only one condition: Shuiyu couldn't die. Zhong Ao nodded with satisfaction. "Good, if you take me to find the profound Yin sunflower water, I'll tell you how to save her." "Deal." Yang Kai nodded repeatedly, thinking for a moment before adding, "But that place is now guarded by the cultivators of Hengluo Chamber of Commerce, so Holly Ka and Lin Mu Feng shouldn't let you get close." "They dare." If this old master wants to go, would they dare stop him? Zhong Ao's expression became fierce as he snorted, "At worst, I'll just share some benefits with them." He didn't seem to want to have too much trouble with Hengluo Chamber of Commerce. After all, the value of the profound Yin sunflower water was simply too great. If he were to take it alone, it would definitely provoke Hengluo Chamber of Commerce's retaliation. Sometimes, taking a step back to the worlds to him. However, before that, this old master has to go out first. To collect the profound Yin sunflower water, I need to build some special containers. Zhong Ao seemed to be talking to himself as he turned to Yang Kai and said, "Boy, you stay here, this old master will return in half a month or so." Yang Kai nodded gently. Zhong Ao's actions were swift and decisive, and after speaking, he immediately set off, disappearing in an instant. No one knew where he had gone. However, since he said he needed to build a special container, he should be looking for an artifact refiner. Artifact refiners and alchemists were equally noble and rare talents, especially high-grade alchemists and artifact refiners. They had always been the targets of many great forces. It wasn't surprising that someone like Zhong Ao knew 1 or 2 skilled artifact refiners. After Zhong Ao left, Holly Ka's soft voice suddenly called out from outside the palace, "Little brother, little brother." He hadn't left yet. Yang Kai had probably been observing from the outside, and upon seeing Zhong Ao suddenly leave, he had mustered up the courage to come to the palace and ask about the situation. Yang Kai walked out and briefly explained to him what had happened. Learning that Zhong Ao had set his eyes on the profound sunflower water, Holly Ka's expression changed greatly and he suddenly panicked, not knowing how to deal with Zhong Ao's greed. He didn't dare report what had happened here to the home star. Shui Yu's third young master's woman was unconscious, her life or death unknown. Holly Ka didn't have enough time to conceal this news, so how could he report it truthfully? Hesitating for a while, Holly Ka didn't blame Yang Kai for being nosy and simply said, since Grandmaster Zhong Ao has a way to save her, little brother should stay here and wait for him to come back. I'm going to discuss with Lin Mu Feng how to deal with this matter. Saying so, he quickly left. Yang Kai returned to his room and sat down on the bed, staring at Shui Yu who seemed to be sleeping soundly. This enchanting beauty had a peaceful expression on her face at the moment, her breathing was even, and she was sleeping soundly, her exquisite figure on full display. Kai Yang stretched out his hand and fiercely groped her chest. He felt like he had suffered a big loss. If it weren't for the soul chains, he wouldn't have had to spend so much effort, nor would he have had to worry about Shui Yu's life or death. What was most unbearable for him was that even if he rescued Shui Yu, after unlocking the soul chains, he didn't know what kind of attitude this woman would have towards him. Would she become angry out of humiliation and hunt him down for 10,000 years? This unpredictable future made Yang Kai resentful. It was just that on the dead star, the situation had forced him to link his life with Shui Yu's in order to protect himself. Yang Kai's heart was filled with bitterness. If he didn't take advantage of this opportunity to take advantage of her, he wouldn't be able to balance it out. Zhong Ao disappeared for half a month. During this time, Yang Kai lived in his palace. Shui Yu was unconscious and didn't need him to take care of her, so he threw himself into Zhong Ao's alchemy room. The dozens of large and small pill furnaces were engraved with many spirit arrays used for alchemy. These spirit arrays were different from the ones hidden in the medicine field. They were complete compound spirit arrays, with one spirit array over another. Each spirit array was perfectly fused together without any conflict. Yang Kai imprinted the engraving method and structure of these spirit arrays into his mind without any hesitation, turning it into his own knowledge. Inside the palace, there was also a study with many ancient books. Yang Kai had nothing better to do, so he went in to read them. All of a sudden, he found a lot of good things that excited him. Pill recipes he had never seen before caused him to study them tirelessly, as if he was drunk on them. The pill recipes Yang Kai mastered were all from Tongxian realm, but after coming to Star territory, the grade of spirit grasses and spirit medicines had become higher, many of which had never existed in Tongxian realm. These collected pill recipes perfectly complemented his shortcomings, allowing his knowledge and attainments in alchemy to begin to connect with those of Tongxian realm's territory. Half a month passed by in a flash and Yang Kai didn't notice the passage of time at all. Zhong Ao's life aura suddenly appeared in the palace and he went straight to the study. Seeing Yang Kai flipping through the pill recipes and alchemy manuals, Zhong Ao didn't mind and simply gestured to him, "Let's go, take this old master to the place where the profound sunflower water was found. As long as this old master can smoothly collect these treasures, you can read them for as long as you want." Good. Yang Kai put down the ancient book in his hand, got up, and walked out with him. "If my mistress stays here, there won't be any problems, right?" Yang Kai asked worriedly. "What problems could there be?" Zhong Ao smiled strangely. "No one dares to break into this old master's palace, and no one can do so unless several origin-returning realm masters try to break in together. On this rainfall star, no one dares to offend this old master, so you can rest assured that this is the safest place on Rainfall Star." Seeing his proud and arrogant appearance, Kai Yang didn't think he was blowing his own trumpet, but he really did have such self-confidence. Together with Zhong Ao, Yang Kai summoned his star shuttle and flew towards the mine. After half a day, Yang Kai brought Zhong Ao back to the mine pit from before. Down below, there were many cultivators waiting. Holly Ka, Lin Mu Feng, the middle-aged woman, and the origin returning realm masters from Heng Luo Chamber of Commerce's branch were all present. They seemed to be waiting. These little brats, Zhong Ao cursed, a look of dissatisfaction on his face. Seeing Zhong Ao's figure, Holly Ka and the others also wore solemn expressions, looking a little nervous and helpless, exchanging a glance before stepping forward. "Greetings, Grand Master." As soon as Zhong Ao and Yang Kai landed, Holly Ka and the others saluted respectfully and humbly. N. Zhong Ao nodded lightly, neither cold nor warm. "I heard that Grand Master displayed a profound skill to save Master Shue's life a few days ago, for which we are deeply grateful. Master Shue is a guest from the home star. If any accident were to befall her, we would not be able to absolve ourselves from blame. Grand Master's benevolence towards Shue's master is equivalent to..." Holly Ka's words were like a cannonball as he continuously flattered Zhong Ao. Lin Mu Feng and the middle-aged woman couldn't help twitching slightly, feeling somewhat uncomfortable. Yang Kai also had goosebumps as he stared at Holly Ka contemptuously, seemingly not having expected him to be such a person. "Enough nonsense." Zhong Ao waved his hand and interrupted Holly Ka's chatter, squinting at him and snorting, "Don't try to flatter this old master doesn't buy it." Holly Ka suddenly looked embarrassed and didn't dare to continue. "What this old master's purpose in coming here today, I think you all know." Zhong Ao went straight to the point. "If any of you dare try to stop me, don't blame this old master for becoming hostile." Holly Ka's expression became bitter as he quickly said, "Grand Master, why you came here today, we naturally know. Grand Master has been on Rainfall Star for 100 years now and has refined countless pills for my Chamber of Commerce, but has not received any compensation for them. Grand Master's contributions are great and President AIO has repeatedly urged us to treat Grand Master as our most honored guest, to satisfy all of his requests, and not to violate them." Zhong Ao snorted and said, "Seems you know what's good for you." Holly Ka continued, "If it were anything else, what harm would there be in giving it all to Grand Master? But this profoundine sunflower water. Zhong Ao's face became cold as his eyes filled with hostility. "It's just that this profoundine sunflower water is of great importance. We really can't act on our own." Holly Ka braced himself. "Yes, Grand Master, if this matter is known to the home star, we will not be able to escape punishment, please understand." Lin Mu Feng also stepped forward and pleaded. Chapter 1061. Zhong Ao's cultivation was also at the origin returning realm, not necessarily higher than Holly Ka, Lin Mu Feng, and the others, but because he had constantly refined pills for Heng Luo Chamber of Commerce free of charge for the past 100 years, allowing him to refine a large number of pills, his status had risen to a whole new level. President AIO also paid great attention to him and ordered Holly Ka and the others to treat Zhong Ao as a foreign elder of the Chamber of Commerce, not showing the slightest neglect. It could be said that on Rainfall Star, Zhong Ao had the highest status. This was why these origin returning realm masters were so cautious when facing Zhong Ao, not daring to show the slightest bit of carelessness. Knowing that Zhong Ao was here to snatch the profoundine sunflower water, they didn't dare act rashly, so they could only plead with Zhong Ao to show mercy. The three of them took turns trying to persuade Zhong Ao, but even as they tried to persuade him, Zhong Ao remained unmoved. In the end, Zhong Ao became so annoyed that he began cursing loudly, but Holly Ka and the others didn't dare to retort, simply enduring it with ugly expressions. After cursing for a while, Zhong Ao stopped and looked over at the three of them, sneering, "Don't think this old master doesn't know you don't dare report what happened here to the home star. At the very least, before that little girl is safe, you won't dare. All you can do is hide the news, so what if this old master snatches the profoundine sunflower water? What are you going to do about it? Hearing this, Holly Ka and the others glanced at each other and smiled bitterly, not daring to answer. All treasures in this world belong to the strong. Zhong Ao looked at the three of them proudly, taking 10,000 steps back. If this old master doesn't have any ideas about the profoundine sunflower water, would you be able to accept it? Would you accept it? If you don't know how to collect it, you'll only be able to look at the meat in front of your mouth, never be able to eat it. What Grand Master says is true. Holly Ka no longer tried to argue and nodded bitterly. Does Grand Master know how to collect the profoundine sunflower water? The middle-aged woman heard the implication and looked at Zhong Ao with some joy. If I didn't know, why would this old master come here? Zhong Ao snorted and waved his hand. Get out of the way. If there's anything, wait until this old master collects those things. No longer paying any attention to Holly Ka and the others, Yang Kai picked up Yang Kai and descended into the mine, disappearing in the blink of an eye like a rogue bandit. Holly Ka and Lin Mufeng glanced at each other, grit their teeth, and followed. Inside the mine, Yang Kai followed behind Zhong Ao, guiding him. The last time Yang Kai came in alone, he relied on the method of tearing space and went deep into the ancient ruins without much effort. But this time, he couldn't do it. There were all kinds of dangerous and vicious spirit arrays hidden in these ruins. When Holly Ka and Shuiyu brought people here to investigate, they had lost a number of cultivators along the way. However, Zhong Ao was obviously not an ordinary person. He led the way forward, holding a pentagonal crystal-like object in his hand. This crystal bloomed with a brilliant light that illuminated the dark mine tunnel. From time to time, some weak and imperceptible energy fluctuations would come from nearby. Every time this happened, Zhong Ao would be extremely careful, leading Yang Kai away from the territory of these energy fluctuations. This pentagonal crystal seemed to have a detection function, and using it, Zhong Ao was able to avoid many unknown dangers. Although his movements were slow, he didn't have to worry about any dangers, allowing him to easily move forward. The temperature in the air gradually dropped, and a thin layer of ice appeared on the stone walls of the mine. Zhong Ao's expression gradually became excited as he knew that the profoundine sunflower water was getting closer and closer to him. Holly Ka and the others followed not far behind Zhong Ao and Yang Kai, following the path they had taken, communicating with their divine senses as they walked, discussing how to deal with this situation, but after discussing for a long time, none of them could come up with a good plan, causing them to become quite anxious. Boy, which way do we go now? At a fork in the road, Zhong Ao stopped and asked Yang Kai. This way. Yang Kai pointed in a certain direction, his divine sense threads having already broken through the shackles of space and found the location of the profoundine sunflower water. Zhong Ao didn't suspect anything and walked directly into the fork in the road. After continuing forward for half a day, Zhong Ao, who was leading the way, suddenly couldn't help shivering, squinting his eyes as he stared forward, his body trembling uncontrollably as a fanatical light flashed across his eyes. Profoundine sunflower water. Several dozen drops of profoundine sunflower water were strangely suspended mid-air, maintaining the same state as when Yang Kai had left, waiting for a fated person to collect them. It really is profoundine sunflower water. Zhong Ao swept the area with his divine sense and immediately noticed the extraordinariness of these water droplets. Although these water droplets were suspended mid-air, each of them was as heavy as a mountain and contained a terrifying amount of power. In this world, besides profoundine sunflower water, there was nothing else that possessed such characteristics. Taking a few steps forward, Zhong Ao quickly arrived in front of the several dozen drops of profoundine sunflower water, his eyes flashing a brilliant light as he examined them carefully. Being able to cause Zhong Ao to lose his composure, it was obvious that this profound sunflower water was of great value. Yang Kai, on the other hand, had a calm look on his face as he stood in place, not showing any intention of snatching the profound sunflower water. Yang Kai was well aware of his own abilities. Without even mentioning Zhong Ao, just Holly Ka and the others behind him, which one of them wasn't an origin returning realm master? In front of them, Yang Kai still had some self-awareness. As soon as the sound of footsteps rang out, Holly Ka and the others who had followed closely behind also appeared one after another, standing beside Yang Kai as they stared towards him with bitter looks on their faces. Several dozen drops of profound sunflower water appeared in front of their eyes, causing all of their eyes to go red. This was a supreme cultivation treasure. As long as one could safely refine a single drop, it would greatly increase the strength of any cultivator. Even an origin returning realm master like Holly Ka would receive a significant boost in strength. At their level of cultivation, wanting to make further progress was more difficult than ascending to the heavens. It was possible for them to spend hundreds or even thousands of years without being able to break through a single minor realm, and that was assuming they had enough opportunities. Although refining the profound sunflower water was fraught with dangers, without paying a price, how could there be a return? Each of them had experienced countless life or death battles, comprehending the heavenly way and martial Tao on the brink of death, growing step by step to their current heights. They knew better than anyone that the greater the danger, the greater the return. However, all of them could only watch from afar, not daring to step forward. When this profound sunflower water was discovered, was it sealed in a space ring? Zhong Ao suddenly asked. Yang Kai had briefly told him about the profound sunflower water, but since Yang Kai didn't know much, he naturally didn't know much either. Yes, Grandmaster, Holly Ka's spirit shook as he quickly responded. A waste of heaven's treasure, a waste of heaven's treasure. Zhong Ao curled his lips, wanting to store such a thing in a space ring. It seems that ancient master was quite ignorant, but fortunately for his ignorance, this profound sunflower water would have sunk to some unknown place long ago. The others were all confused, not understanding what he was talking about. Lin Mufeng cupped his fists and said, "Please enlighten us, Grandmaster." Zhong Ao grinned and said, "Every drop of profound sunflower water is as heavy as a mountain and is not something that can be stored in a space ring. After that ancient man put the profound sunflower water into his space ring, he probably died before he could even use his space ring. Otherwise, his space ring would have exploded long ago. How could it have survived until now?" Holly Ka hurriedly said, "At that time, we were caught off guard because our space rings exploded, resulting in heavy casualties." Naturally, Zhong Ao grinned. "And once this thing comes into contact with soil, it will constantly sink. Do you know why profound sunflower water is so rare?" Everyone shook their heads, indicating that they didn't understand. "That's because they all sink to the depths of the Earth's core and are absorbed by the source of the stars, making them difficult to find. And, not only profound sunflower water, but also other precious treasures that may have been absorbed by the source of the stars." As soon as this statement came out, everyone was shocked. Everyone knew about the source of the stars. The foundation of every cultivation star was the heart of the stars, but no one knew that the source of the stars was related to profound sunflower water. Our luck is quite good. These several dozen drops of profound sunflower water fortunately didn't come into contact with the soil, otherwise they would have disappeared long ago. Zhong Ao took a deep breath before suddenly taking out a strangely shaped vessel from his space ring. This vessel was somewhat like a vase, but also like a bowl. It had a thin neck and a large belly, giving it a strange appearance, but it was also 5-colored and blooming brilliantly. 5-colored meteor essence. Holly Ka shouted, immediately recognizing what kind of mineral this vessel was made of. Lin Mufeng and the middle-aged woman couldn't help feeling slightly moved. Yang Kai immediately understood that this five-colored meteor essence should be a very valuable ore, otherwise, it wouldn't have caused the three origin returning realm masters to act so abruptly. And this is five-colored meteor essence, Zhong Ao laughed. Very few people know that five-colored meteor essence is the nemesis of profoundine sunflower water. If you want to collect profoundine sunflower water, all you need to do is use this five-colored meteor essence to create a vessel. While laughing, Zhong Ao aimed the vessel at one of the drops of profoundine sunflower water and pushed it into the vessel, not bothering to avoid arousing suspicion. Holly Ka and the other Origin Realm Masters all wore ugly expressions, their mood extremely complex. Although five-colored meteor essence was precious, their Hengluo Chamber of Commerce still had some, and although there wasn't much of it, it was enough to create a vessel. If they had known this earlier, they would have collected the profoundine sunflower water long ago instead of waiting for Zhong Ao to take advantage of them. Holly Ka had let go of a great opportunity in front of him and even lost an arm because of it. Thinking so, the expressions of the three Origin Realm Masters changed dramatically. Zhong Ao didn't care what Holly Ka and the others were thinking, continuing to collect the profoundine sunflower water until there were only 10 drops left. Only then did he stop and solemnly hold the vessel in his hand, glancing over at Holly Ka and the others and saying, "Don't say this old master eats meat and doesn't give you soup. This remaining profoundine sunflower water, you can find a way to collect it yourself, don't tell me you can't find more five-colored meteor essence." Chapter 1062. From beginning to end, Zhong Ao had never intended to monopolize such a huge benefit. This place was discovered by Hengluo Chamber of Commerce, and Rainfall Star was the cultivation star of Hengluo Chamber of Commerce. Yang Kai had relied on his status to suppress others, so taking 80% of the profoundine sunflower water was his limit. If he had taken all of it, Yang Kai couldn't guarantee that Holly Ka and the others wouldn't have fallen out with him. He wasn't confident he could deal with so many masters whose cultivation was higher than his. As such, he tactfully took a step back and left behind 10 drops of profoundine sunflower water. When Holly Ka and the others heard Zhong Ao's words, they all wore shocked expressions and became excited, cupping their fists one after another. "Many thanks, Grandmaster. Although five-colored meteor essence is rare, we can still find some." "Good, hurry up, heaven knows if this profoundine sunflower water will suddenly fall down and seep into the ground." Zhong Ao waved his hand and walked out holding the container. Holly Ka didn't dare to delay, leaving behind the middle-aged woman to guard this place while he and Lin Mu Feng quickly left, apparently going to search for the five-colored meteor essence hidden in the branch's warehouse. Yang Kai silently followed behind Zhong Ao all the way out of the ancient ruins. The two flew their star shuttles back to the palace in the mountain valley. Inside the room, Shuiyu was sleeping peacefully just as she had been when Yang Kai left. Yang Kai came over to check on her and found that there was nothing wrong with her, so he went to find Zhong Ao. It seemed that because he had obtained a treasure like the profoundine sunflower water, Zhong Ao was very excited. When Yang Kai came over, he was madly performing alchemy in his pill room, venting his excitement. The several dozen pill furnaces were filled with Saint Chi by Zhong Ao, all of them humming as mysterious spirit arrays were constructed by Zhong Ao and inserted into the pill furnaces. Various herbs flew out from his space ring like snowflakes and were quickly condensed into medicinal liquids before being thrown into the pill furnaces. Kai Yang couldn't help but be moved, his eyes widening as he stared at this incredible scene. He had never thought that there would be someone in this world who could perform alchemy so crazily, one person working in front of several dozen pill furnaces and refining dozens of pills at the same time. At this moment, he finally understood why Zhong Ao could refine so many pills for Hengluo Chamber of Commerce. Judging from his technique and proficiency, Zhong Ao hadn't just been doing this for a day or two, it was very likely he had been refining pills in this shocking way. Yang Kai had a conflagrated knowledge. was proficient in a variety of lost spirit arrays, and had a unique advantage in the alchemic way, but no matter what, he couldn't reach Zhong Ao's level. At most, he could deal with 4 or 5 pill furnaces by himself, and that was his limit. No matter how good you are, there will always be someone better. Of Heng's alchemists, of Zhong's of Heng's to him. Zhong Ao didn't have any intention of driving him away and instead continued to busy himself, the excitement on his face never diminishing and instead becoming more and more flushed. One by one, exquisite spirit arrays were carved out by Yang Kai with his Saint Qi and inserted into different pill furnaces. The various different spirit arrays perfectly fit together, forming a complex composite spirit array that catalyzed the medicinal efficacies of the pill furnaces and assisted in alchemy. Everything was done in an orderly and skillful manner, without the slightest mistake. After half a day, the alchemy room was filled with a variety of pill fragrances. These fragrances mixed together, and when they entered Yang Kai's nose, they made him feel refreshed and refreshed. Yang Kai's eyes became more and more focused. "Rise!" Zhong Ao suddenly shouted, and the several dozen pill furnaces trembled at the same time. Pill furnaces of different colors flew out from the pill furnaces and fell like raindrops into the prepared jade bottles. Zhong Ao tossed a restorative pill into his mouth and allowed his strength to slowly recover. Impatiently, he walked over to the jade bottles, picked them up, and began examining them one by one. After a long time, he finished his examination and said with a look of dissatisfaction, there are only 2 pills, these pills are so damn difficult to refine." Saying so, he put away the 2 pills that had formed pill veins and threw the rest to the side. This scene was somewhat familiar. Yang Kai had seen it once when he brought Shuiyu here to see Zhong Ao. His brow furrowed as he asked, "Is Senior performing this alchemy to increase the chances of pill veins appearing?" Zhong Ao turned around and sat down in his chair, grinning as he gently nodded, "Little brat, you have good eyesight. And this old master spends so much effort in alchemy in order to increase the chances of pill veins appearing." After pausing for a moment, he continued, "Pill veins are something that can only be encountered by chance. Even the best alchemist cannot guarantee that the pills they refine will form pill veins, but when an alchemist is skilled enough to refine low-grade pills, the chances of pill veins appearing are much higher. This old master has been studying pill veins for hundreds of years, but it wasn't until 100 years ago that he came up with this stupid method of winning by quantity. Why else do you think this old master didn't ask for any compensation and instead performed alchemy for Heng Luo Chamber of Commerce for free? This old master wants them to provide me with herbs, otherwise, how could I let them take advantage of me? Refining pills like Zhong Ao consumed a huge amount of spirit grasses and spirit medicines, and without the support of a great force, it was impossible to continue for a long time. Heng Luo Chamber of Commerce was located in the rich territory of Jia Star, so naturally, it was the best choice. Zhong Ao choosing to cooperate with Heng Luo Chamber of Commerce would bring great benefits to both sides. "How is Senior's research going?" Yang Kai asked with interest. Zhong Ao sighed softly, "Difficult, very difficult. The longer one immerses themselves in this field, the more difficult it is to refine pills. I'm not afraid you'll laugh at me, but this old master can only maintain a 2 out of 100 chance of refining pills with pill veins. And this old master is referring to Saint King grade and above pills. 2 out of 100 pills, that was to say, for every 100 pills he refined, he could only produce 2 pills with pill veins. This probability seemed very small, but when looking at the entire alchemy world, it was already a sensational number. Many alchemists spent their entire lives refining pills, but only when their luck was extremely good would they be able to refine 1 or 2 pills with pill veins. Zhong Ao, on the other hand, almost every time he refined pills, he would refine at least 1. Occasionally, his luck would be bad and he would refine none. This old master has also refined a few Saint King grade pills with pill clouds. Do you want to see them? Zhong Ao said with a proud expression. Pill veins were difficult to form, but pill clouds were even more difficult. Zhong Ao had collected tens of thousands of pills with pill veins so far, but there were only a few that had pill clouds, all of which he regarded as treasures. When he was feeling down, he would often take them out to examine them. Whenever he did, his mood would immediately improve. He had lived here alone for nearly 100 years, boring and boring. If it weren't for an obsession in his heart that allowed him to study profound alchemy techniques, no matter how strong he was, he would have gone crazy. Now that Yang Kai had come here to accompany him, and he found him pleasing to the eye, naturally he wanted to show off. Junior wouldn't dare covet Senior's treasures. Yang Kai didn't give him a chance to show off, which made Zhong Ao a little disappointed, curling his lips in dissatisfaction as he said, "Ignorant brat, you didn't take advantage of such a great opportunity. It seems your achievements in alchemy are destined to be limited." Pills with pill veins were extremely rare in this world. In the alchemy world, no matter what grade such pills were, even if they were earth grade or mysterious grade, they were still treasures. If an alchemist with excellent aptitude observed them, they might be able to gain some insights. What's more, Zhong Ao's pills with pill clouds were all Saint King grade. These were the greatest fruits of his 100 years of hard work, the crystallization of his 100 years of hard work, so he would not easily show them to others. Today, when he took the initiative to bring them up, he was actually rejected by Yang Kai. Zhong Ao suddenly felt like his warm face had been stuck to a cold butt, and his good mood was immediately ruined. Naturally, he wouldn't give Yang Kai any face. How could Zhong Ao know that as early as back in Tongxian realm, he had already refined pills with pill clouds, and whether it was Yang Kai or Xiaoning Chang, when refining pills, their chances of forming pill veins were countless times greater than his. Senior, Junior has taken you to find the profound sunflower water, and Senior's harvest has been great. Is it time to tell Junior how to save my master? Yang Kai ignored Zhong Ao's ugly expression and took the initiative to bring up the previous deal. Humph. Greedy for beauty. Zhong Ao muttered discontentedly. He obviously thought that Yang Kai was deeply in love with Shuiyu, so he couldn't wait to inquire about her. Although he suddenly didn't like Yang Kai very much, a deal was a deal, and Zhong Ao still kept his promise, hesitating for a moment before saying, "If you want to save her, all you need to do is refine a purple heart soul restoring pill." After saying so, he turned a gloating look towards Yang Kai, as if he wanted to see him make a fool of himself. Purple heart soul restoring pill. Yang Kai frowned and quickly thought about it. When Zhong Ao went to find someone to build a container to collect the profound sunflower water, he had been reading the ancient books in this palace and memorizing many pill recipes. The purple heart soul restoring pill was one of them. Thinking about it, Zhong Ao recalled the grade of the purple heart soul restoring pill and the herbs needed. An Origin King grade pill. Yang Kai paled and exclaimed. Naturally, an Origin King grade pill. Zhong Ao grinned wickedly. The profound sunflower water is a supreme cultivation treasure. Do you think the damage it causes is so easy to resolve? Only an Origin King grade purple heart soul restoring pill can relieve that little girl's crisis. You should know better than anyone that not only is her vitality frozen, but her soul avatar is also scattered and nowhere to be found. It is not so easy to cure her. Yang Kai's face became gloomy. Zhong Ao continued, "Boy, I advise you to give up. First of all, how many people in the entire star territory can refine an Origin King grade pill? As for the materials required, they are not something you can collect. Where are you going to find a 10,000-year-old soul-restoring flower? It is impossible for such a thing to exist in the entire star territory. The soul-restoring flower was not a precious herb and would grow on every cultivation star, but to refine the Purple Heart soul-restoring pill, it needed to be at least 10,000 years old. Chapter 1063. What kind of herb could grow for such a long time? During a period of 10,000 years, natural disasters, and the passage of time, any unexpected situation could cause an herb to disappear from this world. It could be said that such a herb was impossible to find. On the other hand, other precious herbs, although extremely valuable, were not difficult to find. Heng Luo Chamber of Commerce focused on business, so as long as he entrusted this matter to Holly Ka and the others, Yang Kai believed they could quickly collect the rest. A 10,000-year-old soul-restoring flower made Yang Kai feel helpless in an instant. There are many women in this world. I see that you're still young and still have a lot of time ahead of you, so you'll inevitably meet some outstanding women. Sometimes, you need to let go. And letting go is also a kind of happiness, Zhong Ao sighed, seemingly touched by Yang Kai's words. I have to save her. Yang Kai shook his head, his expression firm. Senior, is there no other way to resolve her crisis? Zhong Ao stared at him deeply, his expression gradually becoming dignified, after a while saying, there is another kind of pill that should work, and the materials needed for this pill are not difficult to find. The grade of the pill itself is not too high. Yang Kai's eyes lit up as he eagerly asked, please enlighten me, Senior. And, seeing how infatuated you are, this old master will give you some pointers. Zhong Ao sighed and said leisurely, but I still advise you not to get your hopes up. Please speak, Senior. A burning flame pill. Zhong Ao spat out a few words. A burning flame pill. Yang Kai frowned and quickly thought about it, a moment later a look of surprise appearing on his face. A Saint King grade low rank burning flame pill? And a burning flame pill is indeed a Saint King grade low rank pill. Zhong Ao gently nodded. Yang Kai looked puzzled. Senior, this junior does not understand. The grade of a burning flame pill is not high, so how can it solve the crisis my master is in? He really didn't understand. The first method Zhong Ao gave him was to refine an Origin King grade pill, while the second method was to refine a Saint King grade pill. The difference between the two was like heaven and earth. Zhong Ao grinned meaningfully. Do you think this is an ordinary burning flame pill? What this old man is referring to is the burning flame pill with pill clouds. Kai Yang's heart shook as he suddenly understood. Since you are also an alchemist, you should know that once a pill forms pill veins and pill clouds, its medicinal efficacy will increase exponentially. This is also the reason why pills with pill veins and pill clouds are so much more valuable. A Saint King grade low-rank burning flame pill, if it forms pill veins, its medicinal efficacies are almost equivalent to a Saint King grade high-rank pill. If it forms pill clouds, even if it's not as good as an Origin King grade pill, it's not far off. I understand. Yang Kai's eyes shone brightly as he regained his composure. Zhong Ao saw his expression and sneered, but how could a burning flame pill with pill clouds be so easy to refine? This might be even more difficult than finding a 10,000-year-old soul-returning flower. This old man still has the same words, kid, you better give up as soon as possible, don't do these useless things. Zhong Ao wasn't saying this to dampen Yang Kai's enthusiasm, but rather to objectively evaluate the facts. Even if the top alchemists in Heng Luo Star Field were to refine this burning flame pill, they might not be able to refine pill clouds. Yang Kai grinned, if I don't try, how can I know it won't work? Zhong Ao quickly stated, little brat, don't even think about this old master, it's impossible for me to help you refine this burning flame pill. This old master has no friendship with you, nor does he have the ability to guarantee that he can refine a Saint King grade pill with pill clouds. I don't want to ask Senior to refine one, Yang Kai smiled lightly. Oh. Do you already have someone in mind? Zhong Ao was slightly surprised. Tell me, who do you want to refine this pill for you? This old master will give you some advice and see if that person has the ability. He didn't think that on Rainfall Star, there was anyone whose alchemy skills were higher than his. In terms of alchemy, he was the best. Junior will refine it himself. You'll refine it yourself. Zhong Ao's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Yang Kai gently nodded. Zhong Ao seemed to be re-examining him, looking him up and down for a moment before saying with a strange expression, "If you want to make trouble, this old master won't stop you, that's your own business. And, if you can really refine a burning flame pill with pill clouds, this old master will call you grandfather." He didn't believe that Yang Kai could refine such a pill with his ability. Yang Kai was just a little second-order saint cultivator. Even if he was an alchemist, with some talent and aptitude in the alchemic way, he would at most be able to cultivate for 20 years. A saint-grade top-rank pill was his limit. Zhong Ao concluded. If he couldn't even refine a saint-king-grade pill, how could he refine a supreme pill cloud? Zhong Ao only thought that this young man was full of vigor and arrogance. However, Yang Kai's eyes lit up and he smiled strangely. "Senior, Junior doesn't dare accept such a title. Since you don't trust me so much, how about we make a bet?" "A bet?" Zhong Ao's eyes narrowed as he snorted. "What kind of bet is this? This old master will accept it. If this junior can refine a burning flame pill with pill clouds, this junior won't ask for too much, as long as half of the profoundine sunflower water is given to me." Yang Kai stared at Zhong Ao with scorching eyes. Zhong Ao's face twitched as he snorted. "Boy, this old master has always thought you were honest and well-behaved, but it turns out you've been harboring evil ideas about this old master's treasures. Aren't you afraid you'll lose your teeth?" "If I really lose my teeth, it will be this junior's own fault." Yang Kai slowly shook his head. "Is senior afraid he will lose?" Zhong Ao curled his lips fiercely. "Don't try to provoke this old master. This old master has long since stopped playing such clumsy tricks." Having said that, Zhong Ao still said, "Fine, if you can really refine a burning flame pill with pill clouds, this old master will give you half of the profoundine sunflower water." This old master has devoted himself to studying pill veins for hundreds of years and has never been able to find a way. If you have the ability to surpass this old master will be convinced. But boy, if you can't refine it, what will you do? He stared coldly at Yang Kai, his expression extremely unkind. The bet proposed by Yang Kai made him a little annoyed. He felt that Yang Kai was looking down on his alchemy skills and also his many years of research, causing his heart to fill with murderous intent. As senior decides. Yang Kai was very stubborn. In any case, if he couldn't refine this pill, Shuiyu would die, and if she died, he would also be out of luck. Good, this old master is looking for an assistant. If you can't do it, you'll be this old master's coolie for the rest of your life. Zhong Ao laughed strangely, but this bet must have a time limit, otherwise, this old master will have to wait forever. Naturally. Yang Kai seemed to have expected him to say this. The time limit will be when my master dies. How about it? That's a matter of a year or so. Boy, you're quite arrogant. This old master will open his eyes wide and see how you refine a burning flame pill with pill clouds. Zhong Ao laughed. Senior, please wait and see. Yang Kai grinned, not showing the slightest panic and instead full of confidence. This expression was imprinted in Zhong Ao's eyes and he couldn't help feeling a little dazed, secretly wondering if this little brat was just trying to be mysterious or if he really was confident. Still feeling uneasy, Zhong Ao asked, "With your current methods, what grade of pill can you refine?" "A Saint King grade low-rank pill," Yang Kai said casually. "How is that possible?" Zhong Ao was stunned. You can refine a Saint King grade pill. His face filled with disbelief, wondering if Yang Kai was exaggerating. Yang Kai shrugged his shoulders. I really have. How old are you this year? Zhong Ao asked suspiciously. Less than 30 years old, 27 to 28. Yang Kai wasn't quite sure about his age. He spent most of his time outside, sometimes in retreat, so he had long forgotten the concept of time and age. Being able to refine a Saint King grade pill at the age of 27 or 28, Zhong Ao was so shocked he could barely speak. He suddenly had a bad feeling that half of his Profoundine sunflower water had changed its surname. Shaking his head, Zhong Ao said, after a year or so, things will become clear. This old master won't investigate it now, but boy, I still have to tell you that even if you refine a burning flame pill with pill clouds, it will only be able to expel the Profoundine sunflower water's poison from that little girl's body, so she won't die suddenly. As for the problem of her soul avatar dispersing, you'll have to solve it yourself. Yang Kai frowned, cupped his fists, and said, I know. Go, Zhong Ao waved his hand. Yang Kai withdrew and went to the side room to check on Shuiyu, who was sleeping soundly, before leaving the palace and setting off for the Hengluo Chamber of Commerce branch. Half a day later, Yang Kai met with Holly Ka and the others in the main hall of the mountain range. Holly Ka, Lin Mu Feng, and the middle-aged woman gathered around a table. On this table was a vessel made of 5-colored meteor essence. Inside this vessel were 10 drops of Profoundine sunflower water, each crystal clear like a pearl. The 3 pairs of eyes were glued to the Profoundine sunflower water like locusts, unable to tear their eyes away, all of them grinning from ear to ear. 5-colored meteor essence wasn't difficult to find in Hengluo Chamber of Commerce, so after Zhong Ao left, they had quickly retrieved these treasures and were now discussing how to distribute them and whether to report them to the home star. The 3 of them were excited, but at a loss for what to do. Seeing Yang Kai arrive, the 3 of them didn't try to avoid suspicion and didn't put away the Profoundine sunflower water. Holly Ka got up and asked, Little brother, how is Master Shui? She's fine, but she's still unconscious, Yang Kai replied casually. The 3 men's faces darkened. However, Senior Zhong Ao promised to diagnose Master and has found a way to treat her, Yang Kai said casually. Really? Holly Ka looked happy while Lin Mu Feng also breathed a sigh of relief. The middle-aged woman even patted her full breasts, her complexion immediately improving. Little brother, if there's anything the Chamber of Commerce can help with, please don't hesitate to ask. Master Shui had an accident on Rainfall Star. If you need help, we will not hesitate to help, Holly Ka said seriously. I came here to ask for your help, Yang Kai smiled lightly. Chapter 1064. I want you to help me collect some herbs. Yang Kai went straight to the point, not beating around the bush. What herbs do you need? Holly Ka smiled. Herbs may be lacking in other places, but my Chamber of Commerce will never lack them. Lin Mu Feng and the middle-aged woman also nodded, indicating that they would do their best to meet Yang Kai's requirements. Yang Kai immediately wrote down a list of herbs needed to refine the burning flame pill. Holly Ka took it and looked at it carefully before saying with an indifferent expression, the herbs on this list aren't difficult to find, my branch has a lot of them. Besides the dragon turtle spirit fruit which is relatively rare, the others aren't a problem. However, little brother only needs to wait 3 to 5 months before we can transfer the dragon turtle spirit fruit from another medicine star. It's just that, 3 to 5 months isn't a problem, as long as it's not a year or so, Yang Kai shook his head. Within 4 months, I will definitely be able to transfer the dragon turtle spirit fruit, Holly Ka patted his chest and promised. Some herbs needed specific environments to grow, and although Rainfall Star was also a cultivation star, there was no suitable environment for the growth of the dragon turtle spirit fruit. However, there was a nearby medicine star owned by Hengluo Chamber of Commerce that produced a large number of these things. How many herbs does little brother need? Lin Mufeng asked. As many as you have. Yang Kai quickly said. As many as you have. The three of them were taken aback as they stared at Yang Kai in amazement. They had thought that Yang Kai only wanted a few sets of materials for refining pills, but Yang Kai had opened his mouth like a lion with no bottom line. Yang Kai took the initiative to explain, Senior Zhong Ao's solution is to refine a pill with pill clouds. You should also know how difficult it is to refine a pill with pill clouds. It's not something that can be done once or twice, it requires a lot of trial and error before it is possible to succeed. Hearing what he said, Holly Ka and the others suddenly understood why Yang Kai wanted so many herbs and couldn't help feeling some respect. Holly Ka nodded and said, so that's how it is, Grandmaster Zhong Ao is worthy of being an alchemy grandmaster of his generation, actually having the heart to refine pills that form pill clouds. In any case, this is a losing deal for your branch. The pills refined are all the same type. Even if we give you all the pills afterwards, the sales will still be a problem. You have to be mentally prepared. Yang Kai reminded them. As long as we can awaken Snow Master, these losses are not a problem. Holly Ka immediately made his stance clear. He was truly afraid. If Master Shui really died, Shuiyu Third Young Master would definitely not let him off. Even if he had to exhaust all of his family's resources, Holly Ka would still gather the herbs he needed. That would be for the best. Yang Kai was very satisfied with their cooperation. There was no need for him to waste his breath on this matter. These people were all reasonable people and weren't difficult to talk to, so there was no need for him to analyze the pros and cons for them. Little brother. Holly Ka stammered, seemingly wanting to say something but hesitating. After calling out to Yang Kai, he exchanged a glance with Lin Mufeng, seemingly wanting to say something but not wanting to. Yang Kai observed their expressions and immediately understood what they wanted to say, solemnly saying, for me, saving Master Shui is the most important thing, I won't ask about anything else. As soon as this statement came out, all three of them were overjoyed and the looks they directed at Yang Kai became more and more friendly. Although the three of them had obtained the Profoundine sunflower water and were very excited, with such a big incident happening on Rainfall Star, they didn't know whether they should report it to the home star or not. Normally, they would have the ability to suppress the news of Shuiyu's injuries, but now it was different. Yang Kai was Shuiyu's guard and although his cultivation was low, what if Yang Kai suddenly lost his mind and reported it to the home star before they did? At that time, the three of them would face even more serious punishment. With Yang Kai's assurance, the three of them felt relieved. Yang Kai chuckled and said, I don't want to be punished by the home star, so for the time being, Master Shui's injuries should not be leaked. Once Shui Master recovers, she will make her own decision. Many thanks, little brother. Holly Ka sincerely cupped his fists. However, this Profoundine sunflower water, it's best if you don't touch it for the time being and wait for Master Shui to decide, Yang Kai added. Naturally, even if we had the courage of the heavens, we wouldn't dare use such a precious cultivation treasure at will. Naturally, we'll have to wait for Master Shui to wake up and deal with it. Holly Ka and the others nodded repeatedly, thanking Yang Kai for pointing them out the right path. Moreover, from beginning to end, none of them had any intention of using the Profoundine sunflower water. Although refining a single drop of this thing would greatly increase their strength, none of them knew how to do so. Holly Ka had personally tested the power of the Profoundine sunflower water and knew that the price he had paid for it was the loss of an arm. If they were careless, not only would their strength not increase, they would likely end up in the same state as Shui Master Shui. Not daring to use it didn't mean it wasn't a merit, so before Yang Kai arrived, the three of them had gathered around the container and looked at it happily. Good, before I asked for your help, I also have a private matter I would like to ask for your help with. Yang Kai felt that the time was right and the atmosphere was harmonious, so he was ready to fish for some benefits from them. Little brother, please speak. Do you have any way to quickly improve my strength? Yang Kai looked at the three of them expectantly. Improve your strength? Holly Ka was surprised, looking him up and down for a moment before instantly understanding and laughing. Is little brother trying to improve his strength? Yes, this time, on this trip to the ancient ruins, it was because my strength was too low that Senior Schwab didn't take me with her. If my strength had been higher, I may have been able to save Senior Schwa at that critical juncture and prevent her from being harmed by the profound sunflower water. If I could exchange my life for Senior Schwa's safety, even if I died, I wouldn't have implicated the three of you in such a dangerous situation. Yang Kai said with a pained expression, seemingly blaming himself for his actions. Holly Ka and the other two had all experienced great storms, so how could they not know that he was just putting on an act? However, this little guard seemed to be highly valued by Shwe Master, otherwise, she wouldn't have brought him to Rainfall Star alone, nor would she have taken care of his safety and prevented him from entering the ancient ruins. After Shwe Master woke up, perhaps they would need to rely on him to put in a few good words to appease Shwe Master's anger. What's more, not only did he not report this matter to the Home Star, he even cooperated with the three of them to conceal it, which was already a great favor. Whether it was to curry favor or to repay him, the three of them felt that they should satisfy Yang Kai's request, which wasn't too excessive. If a second-order Saint Cultivator wanted to improve his strength, they should be able to satisfy him. Quietly exchanging a few glances, the three of them immediately made a decision in their hearts, Holly Ka saying, if you want to quickly improve your strength, the only way is to cultivate diligently. This kind of thing can't be rushed, everyone gains their strength bit by bit, but... Suddenly changing the topic, he grinned, I have a way to improve your cultivation efficiency. Yang Kai's eyes lit up, what is it? The space ring on Holly Ka's hand flashed and a colorful orchid-like object appeared in his hand. The petals of this orchid were quite strange, the petals blooming like a baby's head, its facial features clear and slightly gloomy. Heavenly Spirit Ghost Orchid. On the side, Lin Mu Feng and the middle-aged woman both exclaimed in shock, seemingly not having expected Holly Ka to take out such a precious treasure. For a moment, all three of them stared towards Yang Kai with thoughtful expressions, as if they had just obtained a great bargain. What's the use of this? Yang Kai asked. Holly Ka said proudly, it's a cultivation aid, if you take it directly, you'll understand its mysteries. Lin Mu Feng also chimed in, this kind of thing is quite rare, Old Ha fought with others for it back then, the scenes from the past are still vivid in his mind. I never expected he would have kept it for nearly 100 years but was unwilling to use it, I thought he had already used it up. Holly Ka grinned, without a suitable candidate, what use is there for it? This old master is already a third-order origin returning realm cultivator, using this thing won't improve my strength much. I was hoping to find a suitable junior, but on this vast Rainfall Star, no one can enter this old master's eyes. Yang Kai's eyes were quick and before he could finish speaking, he took the Heavenly Spirit Ghost Orchid and stuffed it directly into a space ring on his hand. From the conversation between these two, Yang Kai also understood the preciousness of the Heavenly Spirit Ghost Orchid, so how could he be polite? Yang Kai then turned to look at Lin Mu Feng. Lin Mu Feng was just sighing with emotion at Holly Ka's generosity when he suddenly met Yang Kai's gaze and couldn't help his face twitching. Immediately understanding, he patted his head and said, this Lin remembers, there is something I can help little brother Yang with. Yang Kai's meaning was already very obvious. Clearly, he wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to rob him, so how could Lin Mu Feng pretend to be ignorant? Suppressing his heartache, Lin Mufeng put on a nonchalant look on his face, his space ring flashing as he took out a bottle, but before he could speak, it was snatched away by Yang Kai. Lin Mufeng smiled bitterly and said weakly, "This is Snow Pond Crystal Essence, a product of the Snow Pond Restricted Area on Ice Snow Star. A single cup of Snow Pond Crystal Essence is condensed every 1,000 years, so this is all I have. It's useful." Yang Kai spoke concisely as he observed the jade bottle in his hand. This jade bottle exuded a cold aura, and through its walls, Yang Kai could see some snow-white substance inside. There wasn't much of it, only about the size of a fingernail. Snow Pond Crystal Essence is most useful for stabilizing one's state of mind. Taking a single drop will provide endless benefits. Since little brother Yang wants to quickly improve his strength, this thing is indispensable, Lin Mufeng explained. Yang Kai's eyes lit up and he grinned widely. This thing given by Lin Mufeng was a perfect complement to Holly Ka's heavenly spirit ghost orchid. One could improve one's cultivation efficiency while the other could stabilize one's state of mind and prevent the burden and sequelae of rapidly increasing one's strength. It could be said that this thing was equal in value to the heavenly spirit ghost orchid. Yang Kai put it into his space ring with satisfaction. Chapter 1065. Lin Mufeng anxiously watched Yang Kai put away the small bottle of Snow Pond Crystal Essence, his face filled with pain. Yang Kai pretended not to notice. Without waiting for Yang Kai to speak again, the middle-aged woman smiled and said, "I don't have as many treasures as these two, but I do have something that can improve the efficiency of one's cultivation. If little brother doesn't dislike it, please take it." Saying so, a small flag-like object suddenly appeared in her hand. These flags were of different colors, red, orange, yellow, and green. There were a total of 7 flags that exuded strong world energy fluctuations. An artifact. Yang Kai was a little surprised, wondering what use this artifact had that it could actually improve one's cultivation efficiency. This 7-colored spirit-gathering flag is an origin-grade low-rank artifact. If arranged according to a certain method, it can gather world energy. I used it to cultivate before, but as my strength increased, I put it away and haven't used it for nearly 100 years. Now, I'll give it to little brother. Yang Kai's eyes lit up again as he secretly thought that these people were indeed worthy of being the highest leaders of Hengluo Chamber of Commerce's branch. The things each of them could casually take out were not things that could be seen by ordinary people. He wondered just how many more treasures they had. This time, Yang Kai wasn't as impatient as the previous 2 times. Carefully taking the 7-colored spirit-gathering flag from the middle-aged woman, Yang Kai politely thanked her. The middle-aged woman smiled lightly, "Release your knowledge, seize defenses, and I'll teach you how to arrange it." Yang Kai nodded and the middle-aged woman stretched out a jade finger and tapped Yang Kai's forehead. In an instant, the various functions of this 7-colored spirit-gathering flag were grasped by Yang Kai. After carefully inspecting it, Yang Kai was very satisfied with the 7-colored spirit-gathering flag. Although this thing was only an origin-grade low-rank artifact, for the current Yang Kai, it was an extremely rare treasure. It could be used for a long time, and when Yang Kai no longer needed it, he could give it to someone close to him. It wasn't as valuable as the Heavenly Spirit Ghost Orchid or the Snow Pond Crystal Essence, but it was far more practical. No matter who it was, the 3 of them had spent a great deal of effort. Yang Kai cupped his fists and said, "Many thanks to the 3 of you for your help. This little one can't thank you enough." "You're welcome." Holly Ka laughed, "As long as we can awaken Master Shui, what harm is there in having to go bankrupt?" He put on a loyal and courageous appearance, but it was hard to tell how much sincerity there was in it. "Why don't little brother get 2 more moon slaves?" Lin Mufeng suddenly thought of something and suggested. Moon slave. Yang Kai frowned and looked at them suspiciously. The middle-aged woman's face reddened as she spat. You scoundrel, little brother is still so young, yet you don't teach him good things and only teach him some unorthodox tricks. When Master Shui wakes up, how are you going to explain this? Lin Mufeng looked embarrassed. There's no problem with 2 moon slaves, right? I can see that little brother is a determined person. You won't hold up your future because of 2 moon slaves. And, if it's 2, it really won't be a problem, Holly Ka also echoed. What's a moon slave? Yang Kai asked curiously when he saw them talking back and forth between themselves. Holly Ka lightly coughed and explained, moon slaves are a type of woman specially cultivated by our Chamber of Commerce. They cultivate special secret arts and take special pills so that when they reach a certain age, they can mate with men. Their primordial yin contains a very pure energy, so any man who takes them for the first time can obtain great benefits from it. If little brother wants to improve his strength as quickly as possible, moon slaves are the best choice. Plucking yin to supplement yang. Yang Kai's face changed slightly. No. Lin Mufeng smiled and waved his hand. The method developed by my Chamber of Commerce is not an ordinary method of plucking yin to supplement yang. Little brother should also know that many cultivators cultivate evil secret arts, plucking yin to supplement yang in order to rapidly improve their strength, but the energy obtained through this method is impure, causing their combat power to be much lower than a cultivator in the same realm. My Chamber of Commerce would never do such a thing. Moon slaves are selected from women with good aptitude and physiques and are then trained in a special way so that when the energy from their primordial yin is transferred to a man, it won't cause too much of an impact on him. With little brother's current cultivation, subduing 2 moon slaves of the same realm shouldn't be a problem. And, if there was a problem with my Chamber of Commerce's moon slaves, there wouldn't be so many people coming to buy them, Holly Ka also nodded. You also engage in human trafficking. Yang Kai was shocked, never having expected that the huge Hingluo Chamber of Commerce would actually be so shady. It's all consensual. These moon slaves are ordinary people from poor families. If it weren't for my Chamber of Commerce, they would only live a few dozen years before dying of old age. My Chamber of Commerce provides them with cultivation materials and environments, allowing them to possess extraordinary skills. Moreover, after a moon slave has sex with a man, they can continue to cultivate and improve their strength. If they can win the favor of their master, glory and wealth are just around the corner. Many of the moon slaves who leave my Chamber of Commerce live quite good lives, Lin Mufeng explained, seemingly noticing that Yang Kai was somewhat repulsed by this kind of thing. The middle-aged woman blushed and didn't say a word, but she obviously knew a lot about moon slaves. There's no need for moon slaves. Yang Kai pondered for a while before waving his hand and saying with a bitter face, I'm afraid Master Shui will go crazy when she wakes up. Yang Kai had to admit that listening to them talk about the various benefits of moon slaves, especially their ability to rapidly improve one's strength, Yang Kai was indeed a little tempted. Right now, he couldn't wait to quickly improve his cultivation. Although he was tempted, Yang Kai still refused. He had his own principles, and no matter how Holly Ka and the others boasted about the benefits of moon slaves, Yang Kai always felt that there were some problems with harvesting yin to supplement yang, which would be detrimental to his future cultivation. If that's the case, then we won't force you. Holly Ka looked at Yang Kai with some approval, seemingly not having expected that a young man like him could refuse such a great temptation. Moon slaves could not only help people improve their strength, each of them had been taught many ways to serve men, each of them possessing boundless charm and were proficient in many ways. They had always been the bragging rights of young men in the Star Territory. Being able to bring 1 or 2 moon slaves with them was a great honor. Hingluo Chamber of Commerce cultivated a large number of moon slaves every year, but the order for them had been waiting for several years now. Moon slaves alone were a huge source of income for the entire Hingluo Chamber of Commerce, and the price of moon slaves was constantly rising, but it still couldn't stop the enthusiasm of those who came to buy them. Yang Kai's refusal surprised the three of them, making them feel that this young man was somewhat unusual. No wonder Master Xue had taken a fancy to him and chosen him as her guard. After chatting with Holly Ka and the others for a while and asking them to send the materials they had collected to Zhong Ao's palace, Yang Kai left. Once again returning to Zhong Ao's palace, Yang Kai was full of energy, as if he had an inexhaustible supply of energy. TSK, Heavenly Spirit Ghost Orchid, Snow Pond Crystal Essence. Zhong Ao looked at the two things in front of Yang Kai and muttered, Holly Ka and Lin Mu Feng are really generous, actually giving you such treasures. It seems that little girl's status in Hingluo Chamber of Commerce isn't low. The older the ginger, the spicier it was. Zhong Ao recognized the names and uses of these two things at a glance. Turning his attention to the seven-colored flag, Zhong Ao played with it for a while before letting out a strange laugh. Boy, with the help of these things, this old master estimates that you can break through to the third order saint realm in a very short time. Worthy of Hingluo Chamber of Commerce, it's really easy to cultivate someone. Old Zhong, in a few days, Holly Ka and the others will deliver the materials needed to refine the burning flame pill. I hope Old Zhong can help me receive them, Yang Kai said as he took the seven-colored spirit-gathering flag back from Zhong Ao's hands. As long as you don't disturb this old master's alchemy, it's fine. Zhong Ao snorted, squatting in front of Yang Kai without a care for his image, asking suspiciously, but this old master has one thing he doesn't understand, can you explain it to me? Please speak, Old Zhong. Didn't you say you wanted to refine a pill to save your woman? Why did you bring these things back? What else can I do? Cultivate, Yang Kai grinned. Zhong Ao was stunned, are you sure you haven't made a mistake? You only have a year and a half to refine a burning flame pill that forms pill clouds in a year and a half. That's already a bit of a rush, yet you're still in the mood to cultivate. Ordinary people sharpen their knives before slaughtering pigs, what's wrong with my cultivation? Yang Kai spat disdainfully, on top of that, I'm still missing one of the materials to refine the burning flame pill. Holly Ka said that it will take 4 months to transfer them from the other medicine star. If I don't cultivate, am I supposed to just sit around and wait? That being said, so what if your strength improves to the third order saint realm? Zhong Ao couldn't understand why Yang Kai wasn't worried at all. Perhaps this minor breakthrough will allow me to successfully refine pill clouds, Yang Kai smiled lightly. Zhong Ao glanced at him as if he was looking at an idiot, straightening up and saying, do as you wish, this old master will just wait for the results. Don't bother this old master is going to perform alchemy. Saying so, Zhong Ao walked out while muttering to himself about how difficult it was to refine pills. Yang Kai didn't care and simply put away the things he had brought back. When he was on the floating continent, he had spent a great deal of effort to refine a Saint King grade pill and lift the seal Lu Gui Chen had placed on him. At that time, Yang Kai discovered that the reason his alchemy skills couldn't improve was entirely because of the constraints of his realm. His cultivation was too low, so if he wanted to refine a higher grade pill, he needed to improve his strength first. The 4 months it took Holly Ka to transfer the dragon turtle spirit fruit gave Yang Kai a good buffer period. The Heavenly Spirit Ghost Orchid, Snow Pond Crystal Essence, and 7-colored Spirit Gathering Flags were all things he relied on to improve his cultivation. In these 4 months, Yang Kai had great confidence that he could break through to the third order saint realm, at which point refining burning flame pills would become much easier. Chapter 1066. Inside Zhong Ao's palace, in a certain room, Yang Kai sat cross-legged. Taking out the heavenly spirit ghost orchid, Yang Kai swallowed it without hesitation. A cool feeling spread from his throat to his abdomen as Yang Kai silently circulated his secret art to dissolve the medicinal efficacies. Soon, this cool feeling extended to his limbs and bones, relaxing his hundreds of millions of pores, and his physique seemed to have been greatly nourished. In order to refine the burning flame pill that could form pill clouds, in order to rapidly improve his cultivation, Yang Kai spared no effort. Moreover, he didn't regard this incident as a disaster. On the contrary, he felt it was an opportunity. Now, he was wandering the star territory alone, without any friends or family, without any support. His own strength was the foundation for his survival. Shuiyu being unconscious gave Yang Kai an opportunity to concentrate on his cultivation. A bad thing, when viewed from another perspective, could often become a good thing. Yang Kai could take advantage of these few months of painstaking cultivation to raise his strength to the next level while also improving his alchemy skills, allowing him to complement his cultivation and achieve great growth. The cool feeling made him feel refreshed, as if he had never been so clear-headed before. Yang Kai suddenly had a good plan and understanding of his future, causing his mood to fluctuate greatly. Shuiyu's even breathing came from the next room. The method Zhong Ao had used before could only maintain her vitality for a year and a half. Once that time was up, if she was not treated with a pill, she would undoubtedly die. However, Yang Kai wasn't as worried as he was at the beginning. On the contrary, his heart was now as calm as still water. The medicinal efficacies of the heavenly spirit ghost orchid continued to play a role, but Holly Ka didn't clearly tell Yang Kai how such a precious treasure could improve the efficiency of his cultivation. Yang Kai also felt the changes in his body, wanting to find out. Suddenly, the cool feeling all over his body converged towards his chest, the medicinal efficacies of the heavenly spirit ghost orchid condensing into one spot in a very short time. Yang Kai suspiciously unbuttoned his robes, revealing his strong body before looking down at his chest. The shadow of a golden dragon quickly swept past. That was the inheritance of the Dragon Emperor. The golden dragon tattoo was constantly wandering around like a living creature, sometimes in front of Yang Kai, sometimes on his back, while the ice phoenix tattoo remained firmly on his back, not moving at all. This was the Phoenix Empress inheritance that belonged to Su Yan. Yang Kai's body was only a temporary residence for it. Once Yang Kai found Su Yan, he could hand it over to her. At this moment, some black qi was faintly gathering in his chest. The black qi was as gloomy as a ghost, dark and deep. Yang Kai carefully sensed it but did not find anything wrong. He calmed down and quietly waited. Not long after, more and more black qi gathered on his chest, becoming denser and denser, faintly forming a vague pattern. Yang Kai looked at it carefully, but he didn't understand. After waiting for about half a day, the cold feeling in his chest suddenly disappeared. At the same time, the fuzzy squirming pattern quickly froze and became clear. It was actually a pattern of a baby's face with distinct facial features. It was as if Yang Kai had an extra head on his chest, making him feel uneasy and terrifying. Yang Kai was dumbfounded, never having expected that consuming the heavenly spirit ghost orchid would result in such a situation. While he was still in shock, he saw the baby's mouth on his chest suddenly open, like a whale sucking in water, madly swallowing the surrounding world energy. Chi. A gust of wind surged inside the room and an unimaginable amount of world energy poured into Yang Kai's body as the baby's mouth began sucking in. In an instant, Yang Kai felt both physically and mentally comfortable, his body receiving a great deal of energy. His meridians squirmed, accepting the world energy and transforming it into his own strength under the effect of his secret art. Amazing! Yang Kai was overjoyed and closed his eyes, feeling the benefits brought to him by the heavenly spirit ghost orchid. After swallowing the heavenly spirit ghost orchid, although the pattern on his chest didn't look very impressive, its effects were real. In this way, even if Yang Kai didn't cultivate, under the effect of the heavenly spirit ghost orchid, he would be able to constantly absorb world energy, the speed and efficiency of which would be even greater than if he were to cultivate diligently. The baby's pattern would swallow and spit out every 30 breaths, actively absorbing world energy into Yang Kai's body, allowing him to grow stronger. Each time it swallowed and spat out an astonishing amount of world energy. Holly Ka's gift was really what Yang Kai had hoped for. Yang Kai spent most of his time on the road, so while he was on the move, he rarely had the opportunity to cultivate. If this heavenly spirit ghost orchid continued to play its role, it would be difficult for his strength not to improve. In the future, even if he was on the road or fighting, he could maintain a state of cultivation. Unfortunately, according to Holly Ka, the role of the heavenly spirit ghost orchid would become smaller and smaller over time and would disappear after 2 or 3 years at most. On top of that, this thing was extremely difficult to find, and if 1 or 2 were occasionally found, they would be snatched away by others. In order to snatch this thing, Holly Ka had fought many times with others. 2 or 3 years was more than enough. After taking the heavenly spirit ghost orchid, Yang Kai took out the snow pond crystal essence and poured a small amount into his mouth. The snow pond crystal marrow was a product of the snow pond crystal marrow, so it was naturally cold. Yang Kai's spirit shook as he involuntarily felt an ethereal feeling, as if his soul was being purified. A strange power rippled in his mouth and flowed into his abdomen, where it was absorbed by his body and quickly gathered in Yang Kai's knowledge sea. Yang Kai's knowledge sea, which had been somewhat turbulent due to his excitement and joy, instantly calmed down, without the slightest ripple. Yang Kai's soul also seemed to have been sublimated at this moment, his mood becoming as tranquil as an ancient well. When the snow pond crystal essence took effect, Yang Kai suddenly had a wonderful feeling, as if he was standing aloof and observing all the changes happening to his body. The memories contained in Yang Kai's knowledge sea, as well as the scenes he had experienced, flashed through Yang Kai's mind. Yang Kai reviewed the road he had walked, the people he had experienced, the setbacks he had encountered, the joys and frustrations he had experienced, all of them again. Once again, Yang Kai went through the 20 to 30-year journey of his life. He saw many details that he had overlooked before, and he saw many regrets. Looking at these details and regrets, Yang Kai's state of mind began to undergo subtle changes. Yang Kai became more mature and more experienced. As his state of mind changed, Yang Kai's knowledge sea also seemed to undergo some unique changes. The water level of the sea gradually rose, a sign that his spiritual energy was increasing, while the color of the sea became darker and denser, a sign that his soul was becoming stronger. On the six-colored island, the six-colored radiance illuminated Yang Kai's knowledge sea, giving it a more dazzling luster than before. Even the soul-devouring insects that had been living on the island became happier than before, devouring the power produced by the six-colored soul-warming lotus. Soon, the number of soul-devouring worms reached a limit. They all attacked their companions in unison, devouring the bodies of their companions and eliminating the weak. The powerful soul-devouring worms became even more powerful. Yang Kai knew all of this, but he did not stop them, instead calmly watching. The soul-devouring insects used to be his trump card, able to pose a certain threat to a Saint Realm cultivator and easily kill a transcendent cultivator. However, after reaching the star territory, the soul-devouring insects were no longer of much use. Inside the star territory, there were countless Saint Realm cultivators and Saint King Realm cultivators, so the soul-devouring insects could not pose any threat to them. Yang Kai was looking forward to seeing what kind of changes these tiny exotic ancient insects, which could only devour spiritual energy, would undergo after this time and whether they would be useful again. Yang Kai desperately needed strength. The battle between the soul-devouring insects was very fierce, with the tiny insects devoured by their companions one after another. Those who survived were always the elites, and these insects were far more powerful than before. Finally, the internal battle on the six-colored island came to an end, and the number of soul-devouring insects had been reduced to 1 in 10,000. All of them seemed to have fallen into a deep slumber. Sweeping them with his divine sense, Yang Kai found that each of them was like a silkworm that had formed a cocoon around themselves. Faint traces of life could be seen coming from these cocoons. Yang Kai no longer paid any attention and released his divine sense. Arriving outside the palace, Yang Kai took out the 7-colored spirit-gathering flags and, according to the method the middle-aged woman had taught him, poured his strength into them and threw them around. The small flags suddenly grew in size and arranged themselves in a strange pattern around Yang Kai, fluttering in the wind. There was some kind of imperceptible connection between the 7 flags, and this connection allowed the 7-colored spirit-gathering flags to form a kind of spirit array. The wind blew and the trees in the distance began to sway. A large amount of world energy seemed to be drawn towards the 7-colored flags, causing the clouds in the sky to change color. Yang Kai remained motionless as he took out a few cultivation pills and stuffed them into his mouth while holding a piece of high-quality saint crystal in his hand. Inside the palace, Zhong Ao, who was in the middle of performing alchemy, noticed something outside and paused his movements. Releasing his divine sense, he soon learned what was going on outside. "This is unfair, this is unfair." Zhong Ao couldn't help muttering, when this old master was weak, no one was able to provide him with such good cultivation conditions. This is unfair. Zhong Ao couldn't help feeling a little jealous. Heavenly Spirit Ghost Orchid, Snow Pond Crystal Essence, 7-colored spirit gathering flags. What's more, within this 3,000-kilometer territory, many spirit arrays had been arranged to gather world energy. With these various effects added together, the cultivation speed of the little brat outside had increased to an incredible degree. It was comparable to the speed at which a return to void stage cultivator absorbed the spirit chi of heaven and earth. If this momentum continued, it would only take a few months for him to break through his current realm and step into a higher one. Zhong Ao wondered if this little brat's body could withstand it. This kind of crazy gathering of world energy was not something a saint realm cultivator could withstand. If the world energy gathered too quickly and was unable to digest and absorb it in time, it would only cause a huge burden to the body. If something went wrong, his meridians would burst and his foundation would be damaged. At that time, the gains would not make up for the losses. Chapter 1067. Zhong Ao's worries were not unwarranted. Even when a great force trained their young disciples, they would not allow them to grow beyond their limits. Doing so would not do them any good. But now, what Yang Kai was doing had clearly far exceeded the limits of what a cultivator of his level could bear. Even a Saint King first or second order cultivator would not be able to bear this for a long time. Whether Yang Kai died or not, it had nothing to do with Zhong Ao. Zhong Ao only cared about the bet he had made with him before, whether or not he could really refine a burning flame pill with pill clouds. Zhong Ao did not believe this at all, but he could not help but hold a little bit of hope that Yang Kai could really do as he said and convince him of his loss. Pill veins were his life's pursuit, and for this pursuit, he had given up his lofty status and wealth, choosing to refine pills here. He had spent 100 years refining pills, and more than anyone else, he wanted to find a reliable method to grasp the illusory pill veins or pill clouds in his hands. So even if it was just a little bit of hope, Zhong Ao could not help but want to see it to the end, so he did not want Yang Kai to have any accidents. His worries were all in vain. After Yang Kai arranged the 7-colored spirit gathering flag spirit array and began to cultivate, Zhong Ao did not perform alchemy for an entire month, instead silently observing him from a corner of the palace. He was shocked to discover that this little brat's body was bursting with vitality beyond his imagination. He was shocked to discover that this little brat's vitality, which was enough to cause a Saint King realm cultivator to explode, was easily absorbed by this little brat without the slightest discomfort. He was even more shocked to discover that this little brat's strength was actually increasing day by day. Not only did he not show any expression of discomfort, but he also seemed to be in a good mood every day, making Zhong Ao almost unable to believe his eyes. As time passed, a faint yellow halo began to quietly light up around Yang Kai's body. At first, the color of this halo was not obvious, but as more and more world energy flowed into it, it became brighter and brighter. A thick world energy aura, like a thick fog, lingered around him without dissipating. Zhong Ao's several hundred acres of medicine field was covered in a thick fog, and the herbs planted in the medicine field were growing faster than usual. With such a dense concentration of heaven and earth spiritual qi, it would be strange if the herbs didn't grow quickly. For a time, this mountain valley became the location with the richest world energy on Rainfall Star. Even the mountain palace where the Hengluo Chamber of Commerce branch was located was far inferior to this place. With his own strength, he had changed the flow of world energy in such a large area, turning this place into a paradise. Zhong Ao had lived for most of his life but had never encountered such a strange phenomenon. "Who are you?" Zhong Ao was puzzled and slowly shook his head, knowing that all his worries had been fed to a dog's belly. After a month of observation, he no longer paid any attention to Yang Kai, went to the alchemy room, activated several dozen pill furnaces, and began his alchemy career. He finally understood that with Yang Kai's monstrous level, it was absolutely impossible for him to have problems because of cultivation. Zhong Ao clearly saw that Yang Kai was constantly throwing cultivation pills into his mouth, the high-ranked saint crystals in his hand changing one after another. Regardless of his current strength, he would definitely become a dazzling new star in the territory of the star realm in the future. Zhong Ao concluded. Taking advantage of the opportunity to deliver herbs to Zhong Ao once every 3 months, Lin Mufeng personally handed him a few special space rings. These space rings were filled with all the herbs Yang Kai needed. In order to treat the unconscious Shuiyu, Lin Mufeng and the others had spent a lot of money. These herbs had all been purchased with their own money and could not be reimbursed to Hengluo Chamber of Commerce. After purchasing all these herbs, the wealth of these people had been reduced by almost half. Zhong Ao took the space rings and closed the door of the palace, not even allowing Lin Mufeng to come in and sit for a while. Lin Mufeng didn't dare show any displeasure and simply stood outside, staring at the sea of world energy in the medicine field, his eyes shining brightly. Through the layers of world energy barriers, he discovered something extraordinary about Yang Kai. Which Saint Realm cultivator could cultivate so crazily? Looking at his posture, it was obvious that he had been cultivating for a long time, but there was nothing wrong with him. Regardless of anything else, this boy's physical strength was clearly extraordinary. After observing for a while, Lin Mufeng quietly left, not bothering Yang Kai. As the sun and moon rose, Yang Kai sat in the middle of the medicine field, the baby face tattoo on his chest greedily swallowing the world energy. The 7-colored spirit-gathering flags were also constantly playing their role, gathering a large amount of world energy towards him. The effect of the snow pond crystal essence had not weakened in the slightest, allowing Yang Kai's state of mind to remain as calm as ever. After taking one pill after another to assist in his cultivation, the few hundred high-ranked saint crystals he had left were completely used up. Kai Yang had never been able to cultivate as crazily and continuously as he was now. As his second-order saint realm cultivation climbed steadily, the power contained in his body grew larger and larger, gradually reaching the threshold of the third-order saint realm. Finally, one day, a dark demonic flame suddenly emerged from his body, tumbling endlessly, as if it wanted to burn down the entire world. Outside the palace, Zhong Ao's face was cold as he silently watched Yang Kai's changes from a distance. The demonic flame grew stronger and stronger, and gradually, the demonic flame gushing out of Yang Kai's body seemed to come to life, condensing into the shape of a giant dragon. The golden dragon swimming on the surface of his body also seemed to be stimulated and began moving faster and faster. A loud dragon roar rang out as the golden dragon flew out from Yang Kai's body and merged with the demonic flame, wriggling through the clouds. From time to time, the ink-black dragon would bloom with a golden light that enveloped the world. The golden dragon opened its mouth wide and began swallowing world energy. Every time it swallowed, the mountain valley shrouded in thick fog would become a bit clearer. After a dozen or so breaths, the originally pitch-black mountain valley was restored to clarity as all the world energy that had accumulated here was absorbed and assimilated by the golden dragon. Another dragon roar rang out as the flaming golden dragon swooped down and rushed straight into Yang Kai's body. Yang Kai's body shook violently as an invisible shockwave suddenly spread out from him. Wherever it passed, sand and stones were sent flying, trees swayed, and trees were uprooted and blown far away. Yang Kai slowly opened his eyes, a faint light flashing across them as the light around his body quickly converged and disappeared. Third Order Saint. After a crazy retreat, Yang Kai had finally stepped into the Third Order Saint realm. Such a cultivation, when placed in Tong Xian realm, was already one of the top existences. Whether it was Demon Commander Zhang Yuan, his 4 demon general subordinates, Meng Wuya, Chu Ling Shao, Thunder Dragon, Old Ox, or the other monster race great seniors, all of them had reached the Third Order Saint realm. It was just that there was a slight gap between them in this realm. Today, Yang Kai truly stood at the same height as these masters. However, when looking at the entire Tong Xian realm territory, such a cultivation was truly shabby. If one did not have any connections, they would not be able to rely on any great force. A cultivator with such a cultivation was extremely rare in Tong Xian realm territory, and although they were not at the bottom of the hierarchy, they did not have much status. Little brat, congratulations, Zhong Ao strode forward. Zhong Ao strode over. It only took you 3 months to break through to the Third Order Saint realm. Although it was with the help of a powerful artifact, it was still beyond this old master's expectations. I thought it would take you at least 5 or 6 months to accomplish this. It seems your talent is quite good. Many thanks, old Zhong. Yang Kai did not get up and simply nodded lightly, not showing much excitement or frustration, as if everything was a matter of course. Zhong Ao was surprised, knowing that Yang Kai's state of mind had not shown any flaws due to the rapid increase in his strength, knowing that this was all due to the snow pond crystal essence and his own perseverance. Old Zhong, is there any news from Holly Ka? Yang Kai asked. Last time, Lin Mu Feng delivered a few rings of herbs, but the only thing missing is the dragon turtle spirit fruit. I heard him say that Holly Ka is currently transferring it from another medicine star and should arrive in 1 or 2 months, Zhong Ao said unhurriedly. Yang Kai nodded lightly. Although he did not have a deep relationship with Holly Ka and the others, he also knew that the other party did not dare act perfunctorily on this matter, so the arrival of the dragon turtle spirit fruit was only a matter of time. I'm going to see my master, Yang Kai said, standing up without putting away the 7-colored spirit-gathering flags. Inside the room, Shuiyu still seemed to be asleep, her expression tranquil, but perhaps because no one had come to visit her for a long time, a thick layer of dust had settled on her face. Looking at her enchanting face, Yang Kai found some clean water and cleaned her. Perhaps because of the influence of the snow pond crystal essence, Yang Kai did all this indifferently, without the slightest fluctuation in his mood, as if he was treating her like a stranger. He had already decided that after saving Shuiyu this time, he would immediately sever all ties with her. Whether or not she would seek revenge on him, Yang Kai did not want to have anything to do with her. His closeness to Shuiyu was a forced one, unlike his feelings for Su Yan and Xia Ningchang, which were imperceptible and imperceptible. Yang Kai believed that Shuiyu was the same. With this woman's temper, once she was no longer bound by the soul chains, she would likely immediately kill him to protect her reputation and her secrets. No matter what the reason was, she would not allow Yang Kai to live in this world. The two of them were destined to become enemies after this emotional entanglement. After tidying up everything, Yang Kai went outside the palace again, sat down where he had been cultivating before, and continued to circulate his secret art. Having just broken through to the Third Order Saint realm, even with the Snow Pond crystal essence to stabilize his state of mind, Yang Kai didn't need to worry about any flaws in his state of mind, but he still needed to stabilize his cultivation in the shortest time possible. It would be best if he could build on his current foundation and break through to the next level. Yang Kai did not have high hopes as he knew that it would be impossible for him to break through to the Saint King realm within a few years. His only hope was that he could advance his cultivation further without wasting the duration of the Heavenly Spirit Ghost Orchid. This thing could only last for 2 to 3 years, so every day that passed was one day less useful. Chapter 1068. Half a month later, Holly Ka delivered the dragon turtle spirit fruit he had promised and handed it over to Zhong Ao. Glancing over at Yang Kai, who was still cultivating, Holly Ka quickly left. They had done everything they had promised, so whether Shui Master could wake up safely was not something they could control. They could only wait and pray that Zhong Ao really had the ability to refine pill clouds. They didn't know that it was Yang Kai who needed to perform alchemy, and Zhong Ao was too lazy to explain too much to them. Time passed quickly, and after another month, Yang Kai slowly got up, put away the 7-colored spirit gathering flags, and walked back to Zhong Ao's palace with some reluctance. The cultivation environment he had obtained over the past few months was no worse than when he was on the floating continent. His Third Order Saint Realm cultivation had been thoroughly consolidated and he could now use the time and accumulation of strength to break through to the Saint King realm. He didn't know if he would be able to obtain such a good opportunity again in the future, so of course, he was reluctant to interrupt his cultivation, but for the sake of his own life, he had no choice but to give it up. Zhong Ao seemed to have been waiting for this moment for a long time. As soon as Yang Kai walked into the palace, Zhong Ao tossed a few space rings over and smiled. All the herbs needed to refine the burning flame pill are here. Holly Ka and the others have done their best to prepare 2,000 sets of materials for you, all of them Saint King grade. This old master would like to see how you plan to refine a burning flame pill with pill clouds. Senior, don't forget your bet. Yang Kai glanced over at him lightly and said calmly. Humph, this old master always keeps his word, Zhong Ao snorted coldly. Little brat, are you mentally prepared to be enslaved by this old master for the rest of your life? He still didn't want to believe that Kai Yang could do what he had said. He didn't dare to believe it. Just wait and see. Yang Kai grinned wickedly, put away the space rings, and walked straight inside. Shuiyu was still the same, her breathing stable and her vitality surging. For the time being, there wasn't anything wrong with her, but since Zhong Ao said that she could only live for a year or so in her current state, that was all she could live for. Calculating the time, she only had 1 year left. Yang Kai was not in a hurry. He had bet his life on the burning flame pill, which meant that he had to succeed no matter what. Old Zhong, let me borrow your alchemy room, Yang Kai said as he walked into the room that Zhong Ao usually used for alchemy. As long as you can convince this old man wholeheartedly, I don't mind tearing this place apart. Zhong Ao followed Yang Kai closely, not feeling the slightest bit embarrassed. Obviously, he had made up his mind to observe from the very beginning. If Yang Kai really had the means to refine pill clouds, he could secretly learn it. Even if he had to lose half of the profoundine sunflower water, he would still be willing to do so. On the other hand, if Yang Kai couldn't refine pill clouds, Zhong Ao would be happy to watch him make a fool of himself. At the same time, he could also take Yang Kai as a servant and order him around for the rest of his life. Zhong Ao was ready to fight a protracted battle. As soon as he entered the alchemy room, he pulled out the only chair in the room and sat down, not making a sound, simply staring at Yang Kai. Even the sound of his breathing was muffled, as if he didn't want to disturb Yang Kai because of his existence and give him an excuse to do so. Yang Kai also treated him as if he didn't exist, walking around the several dozen pill furnaces lined up beside him, occasionally reaching out and patting them, nodding constantly as a look of covetousness appeared on his face. Zhong Ao was at least an Origin grade high-rank alchemist, possibly even an Origin King grade alchemist, so how could the grade of the pill furnaces he used be bad? Each of the several dozen large and small pill furnaces was extremely high grade, the lowest of which was Saint King grade high rank while the rest were Origin grade. These pill furnaces alone were worth a huge fortune. Yang Kai's own pill furnace was the small furnace left behind by Great Demon God. In Tongxian realm, this small furnace could be considered a high-grade furnace, but compared to the ones owned by Zhong Ao, the difference was like the difference between heaven and earth. The difference was simply too great. A good pill furnace could greatly improve the stability and compatibility of an alchemist's spirit arrays, which in turn improved the success rate and quality of the pills they refined. Therefore, in addition to refining pills, an alchemist's lifelong pursuit also included pill furnaces. They would often go bankrupt in order to build a good pill furnace. Zhong Ao had so many good pill furnaces here, so how could Yang Kai not be envious? Secretly regretting not adding one to the wager at that time, Yang Kai didn't know if Zhong Ao would refuse if he asked. After looking around, Yang Kai immediately set his eyes on the highest quality pill furnace. Patting it, he nodded gently and decided to use it for the time being. "Little brat, your eyesight is quite good." Zhong Ao watched silently from the side. Seeing Yang Kai standing in front of his favorite pill furnace, he couldn't help snorting coldly in his heart. Alchemists had a special affection for their pill furnaces. Many alchemists even regarded their pill furnaces as their wives or daughters, their exclusive property. They would never allow others to touch them, and would fight to the death with anyone who dared to touch them. Zhong Ao probably didn't have such twisted thoughts because he owned so many pill furnaces, but he still felt somewhat unhappy in his heart. Yang Kai simply ignored him and sorted out the herbs in the space rings so that he wouldn't have to search for them when he needed them. Sitting cross-legged in front of the pill furnace, the look on his face suddenly became dignified and pious. Zhong Ao's eyes lit up and he couldn't help but praise in his heart. From this rapid change in temperament and demeanor, Zhong Ao could see that Yang Kai was not a novice and was a young man who had studied the alchemic Tao quite a bit. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to make such a gesture. His entire essence, qi, and spirit were focused on the pill furnace. The only thing in his eyes was the herbs and pill furnace, nothing else. Zhong Ao himself would also enter this state when performing alchemy, so he naturally understood the mysteries and rarity of it. However, this was 2,000 sets of materials. This also meant that he had to repeat the same actions 2,000 times to refine 2,000 identical pill furnaces. If anyone continued to do the same thing for a long time, their steady state of mind would be broken and they would become irritable. Once such a situation occurred, there was no need to even think about refining the pill. Even if he refined it, he wouldn't be able to do so. Zhong Ao's thoughts turned sharply as a smile appeared at the corners of his mouth, secretly preparing to watch a good show. A burning hot power suddenly spread out from Yang Kai's body. This power was not Saint Qi, nor was it the power of his physical body, but rather a burst of energy from the boy's knowledge sea. Conflagrated knowledge C. Zhong Ao's complexion changed dramatically as his eyes bulged and he couldn't help muttering. His body, which had been leaning back in his chair, suddenly leaned forward, stretching his neck as if he could see more clearly. The expression on his face fluctuated between excitement, horror, covetousness, and disbelief. The armrest of his chair was inadvertently crushed by Zhong Ao's hand, but he didn't even realize it. It's actually a conflagrated knowledge C. Zhong Ao's heart was filled with shock. As an outstanding alchemist, how could he not understand the preciousness of a conflagrated knowledge C? Even he didn't possess this kind of special spiritual energy. Conflagrated knowledge Cs were extremely rare, some were born with them while others were formed later in life, but as long as one possessed a conflagrated knowledge C, they would have the greatest advantage as an alchemist. Using one's conflagrated knowledge C to perform alchemy, whether it was efficiency or the quality of the alchemy, both would be greatly improved. Zhong Ao had never seen an alchemist with a conflagrated knowledge C in his life, but there were only one or two of them. The one or two alchemists who possessed this kind of special spiritual energy C could refine pills at a monstrous rate, making Zhong Ao admit defeat. More than 200 years ago, after witnessing the strange methods of a fellow alchemist with a conflagrated knowledge C, Zhong Ao had wholeheartedly wanted to mutate his own spiritual energy. He had found a piece of flame essence and tried to refine it into his knowledge C. At that time, Zhong Ao had narrowly escaped death. His knowledge C had been damaged and his spiritual energy had been damaged, nearly losing his life. After several decades of recuperation, Zhong Ao had taken a lot of pills and precious treasures to gradually recover. Although Zhong Ao hadn't been able to mutate his spiritual energy, during those few decades of recuperation, he had come up with a method of alchemy to increase the rate at which pill veins were formed. But now, a young man less than 30 years old actually possessed a conflagrated knowledge C. How could Zhong Ao not be envious? Although he was envious, Zhong Ao still couldn't help feeling some lingering fear when he thought about the suffering he had suffered so many years ago, so he didn't dare to harbor the slightest greed. Looking over at Yang Kai, Zhong Ao saw Yang Kai begin to condense the medicinal liquids. His conflagrated knowledge C was truly worthy of its name. This little brat's cultivation wasn't high, having just broken through to the third order saint realm, but under the influence of his conflagrated knowledge C, the Saint King great herbs were quickly condensed into drops of medicinal liquid. A series of exquisite spirit arrays took shape mid-air and were placed into the pill furnace by Yang Kai. The condensed medicinal liquids were also placed into the pill furnace in order. Although there were still some flaws in his control of heat and timing, for someone who was refining a burning flame pill for the first time, it was already quite good. No alchemist could become proficient in refining a certain kind of pill from the very beginning, that required the accumulation of time and experience. Zhong Ao was certain that this was Yang Kai's first time refining a burning flame pill, so being able to accomplish this was far beyond Zhong Ao's expectations. Another series of spirit arrays were drawn and placed into the pill furnace, replacing the previous spirit arrays. The various spirit arrays inside the pill furnace perfectly blended with each other, causing subtle and pleasant changes to the medicinal liquids. How is this possible? Zhong Ao exclaimed again. No matter how he thought about it, he couldn't understand how changing the configuration of spirit arrays during alchemy would affect the production of pills. Although he would sometimes change the spirit arrays when he was refining alchemy, every time he did so, he would always choose to change them when the margin for error was relatively large. However, Yang Kai's changes seemed unscrupulous and careless. In just a short time, he had already replaced more than a dozen spirit arrays. Zhong Ao wanted to immediately grab Yang Kai and ask him what was going on, but he was too embarrassed to ask, so he could only suppress the doubts in his heart. Chapter 1069. Inside the alchemy room, Yang Kai's hands were constantly waving, portraying one spirit array after another as he continuously sent them into the pill furnace. While inscribing the spirit arrays, his spiritual energy fluctuated between strong and weak, allowing him to control the flames perfectly. Zhong Ao was dazzled by this scene and could no longer maintain an indifferent expression. He even desperately rushed over to Yang Kai's side and watched him inscribe the spirit arrays with wide eyes. Zhong Ao recognized all of these spirit arrays and even created several of them himself. It was clear that Yang Kai had secretly learned his alchemy skills and was now using them. However, these ordinary spirit arrays, after being injected into the pill furnace, underwent some gratifying changes, causing the medicinal liquid inside the pill furnace to tumble and condense, gradually filling the air with a pill fragrance. Zhong Ao showed a thoughtful expression and faintly felt as if a crack had appeared in front of him. He wanted to see more clearly, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't tear the crack wider, causing him to jump up and down anxiously. He was an alchemy grandmaster, and in terms of alchemy skills and techniques, he was far from being comparable to Yang Kai. But now, watching Yang Kai perform alchemy like this, his eyes lit up. Sometimes, an inadvertent action by others could bring unexpected gains to another, causing that person to fall into a state of epiphany. Therefore, as time passed, alchemy progressed, and as the flowing time Great Emperor passed, countless alchemists stepped forward one after another, creating many schools of alchemy and creating many spirit arrays for alchemy. Even someone as strong as Zhong Ao didn't dare say that he had mastered all the alchemy techniques. He could only bitterly explore his own path in order to pursue his goals. He had been practicing alchemy alone for 100 years, so his thinking had become rigid. Yang Kai's actions made his mind become lively, and he suddenly thought of many things that even Yang Kai couldn't touch. Continue refining, why did you stop? Just as he was feeling excited and felt that he had gained some insights, Zhong Ao found that Yang Kai had actually stopped and couldn't help asking strangely. Old Zhong, can you be quiet? If you do this, I can't refine pills. Yang Kai frowned at him. Zhong Ao's old face flushed red, but he couldn't refute, so he remained silent. Only now did he realize that the pill furnace in front of Yang Kai was emitting a charred smell. The medicinal liquid that had been churning within had all become useless. Obviously, the pill refining had failed, and the medicinal ingredients had been wasted. It's my first time, so it's inevitable that I'm a little unfamiliar with it. In order to cover up his embarrassment of disturbing Yang Kai's alchemy, Zhong Ao actually took the initiative to comfort him, waving his hand and saying, "All right, this old master will just sit there and promise he won't make any noise. You can continue refining." As he spoke, he walked back and sat on his chair, retracting his aura. If he didn't look, Yang Kai wouldn't even notice his existence. Zhong Ao's cultivation was far from what Yang Kai could compare with. Yang Kai shook his head. Through these days of contact, he also knew that although Zhong Ao's temperament was a bit eccentric, he was quite obsessed with the alchemic way. As long as it was related to alchemy, it could arouse his great interest. Otherwise, he wouldn't have spent 100 years here tediously performing alchemy. As long as he could refine 1 or 2 pills with pill veins, he would be extremely excited. Such a person might seem unreasonable and indifferent, but in fact, they weren't difficult to deal with. As long as you catered to their interests, they were easier to get close to than anyone else. Yang Kai had encountered many such people before, so dealing with them was a piece of cake for him. He wasn't afraid that Zhong Ao would steal his alchemy skills, because in front of Zhong Ao, he couldn't guard against it. She might as well concoct pills openly and not care about his observation. How much he could see was his own business. What Yang Kai cared more about was the profound sunflower water in his hands. After cleaning up the dregs in the pill furnace, Yang Kai began to refine the burning flame pill again. The failure just now wasn't because of Zhong Ao's disturbance. Even if he had shouted loudly, he wouldn't have been able to disturb Yang Kai. When he was in Nine Heaven's Holy Land, every time Yang Kai performed alchemy, there would be several people around him observing and commenting on his methods. Occasionally, they would even ask him questions and ask him to answer them as he performed alchemy. Yang Kai had long since become accustomed to this. After all, this was the first time Yang Kai had refined a burning flame pill, so he wasn't very familiar with the control of heat and timing, so failure was understandable. On his second attempt, Yang Kai became much more familiar with the process, and although he still failed in the end, this didn't hinder Yang Kai's enthusiasm. On his third attempt, after failing at the last moment, Yang Kai's expression became more and more confident. He felt that he had figured out how to control the heat and timing of the burning flame pill. On his fourth attempt, a pill fragrance wafted out of the pill furnace and a burning flame pill was successfully refined. Putting this pill into a prepared jade bottle, Yang Kai didn't even have time to observe it before Zhong Ao snatched it away. After a single glance, Zhong Ao tossed the jade bottle back and snorted, "Not bad, being able to refine a pill after 4 tries is quite good, but you can't even refine pill veins, so how can you refine a higher grade pill cloud? What's the hurry?" "This is just the beginning," Yang Kai smiled, ignoring him and continuing to refine. The disdain on Zhong Ao's face gradually converged, replaced by a dignified one as he sighed in his heart. In the end, this was a conflagrated knowledge sea. The speed at which he could refine pills was simply terrifying. Even if he personally refined a burning flame pill, it would take him at least a stick of incense worth of time to refine it, but this little brat had only used an hour to refine it for the first time. This time seemed to be very long and simply couldn't be compared to him, but Zhong Ao knew better than anyone that this was the first time this little brat had successfully refined a burning flame pill. Once he mastered all the techniques and became more proficient, the time it took him to refine pills would become shorter and shorter, and in the end, he might even be on par with him. Zhong Ao's cultivation, alchemist rank, and time spent in alchemy far surpassed this little brat, but in the end, the time it took him to refine the same pill was almost the same. What kind of concept was this? Zhong Ao was both envious and jealous of Yang Kai's conflagrated knowledge sea and couldn't wait to take it for his own use, but when he remembered the bitterness he had suffered in the past, he could only endure it and give up. Days went by. Yang Kai would refine 10 burning flame pills every day, no more, no less. After refining 10 pills, he would immediately sit cross-legged and meditate, restoring the spiritual energy he had consumed while reflecting on himself and improving his understanding of alchemy by recalling today's alchemy process. Whenever this happened, Zhong Ao wouldn't disturb him and instead would reveal a contemplative look. During this time, he hadn't done any alchemy. Every day, he would just watch Yang Kai repeat the process of refining the same pill over and over again, as if there was no end in sight. Not only did Zhong Ao not feel bored, but he also watched with great interest. The frequent replacement of the spirit arrays made him seem to have found another path to alchemy. He had never thought of replacing more than a dozen compound spirit arrays while refining a single pill before. Yang Kai's whimsical ideas and eclectic actions made Zhong Ao feel a sense of excitement, as if the clouds had cleared and the moon had appeared before him, gradually opening up his rigid thinking. In the end, Zhong Ao was still an alchemy grandmaster, so when he meditated, his thoughts were much more profound than Yang Kai's. He faintly felt that the barrier that had bound him for many years was about to be broken. This discovery made Zhong Ao's blood boil. A month later, Yang Kai refined a total of 300 burning flame pills. Every time a pill was refined, Zhong Ao would rush over to take a look. What made him feel strange was that all 300 burning flame pills refined by Yang Kai were actually ordinary pills. Yang Kai's tone before was so big that Zhong Ao thought this little brat had some extraordinary ability. At the very least, he would occasionally refine a few burning flame pills with pill veins. But among these 300 pills, not a single one had formed pill veins. Zhong Ao couldn't help feeling a little disappointed and confused, and finally couldn't help asking, "Little brat, you can't even refine pill veins? If you just want to rely on luck to form pill clouds, this old master advises you to give up." This old master has refined hundreds of thousands of pills, if not millions, but only a few of them have formed pill clouds, and none of them have been of high grade. You want to form pill clouds with just 2,000 sets of materials? You're just dreaming. I didn't want to rely on luck, Yang Kai smiled. These 300 pills are just a way for me to familiarize myself with the process. Familiarize yourself with the process. Zhong Ao looked at him suspiciously. At the very least, I now know how to refine burning flame pills at the fastest speed and with the best spirit arrays. The next step is the main event. Zhong Ao frowned, not knowing what Yang Kai was trying to do. Over the past month, the speed at which Yang Kai was refining burning flame pills had indeed become faster and faster. At first, it took him an hour to refine a single pill, but now he didn't even need half an hour. His speed had more than doubled, and Zhong Ao believed that as long as he continued refining, this time would continue to shorten until it reached an astonishing level. What shocked Zhong Ao the most was not the speed at which Yang Kai was performing alchemy, but the success rate. After the first 3 pills he failed to refine, Yang Kai seemed to have suddenly become enlightened. None of the pills he refined failed, all of them forming pills without wasting a single set of materials. Zhong Ao was completely shocked by Yang Kai's performance. Even if it was Yang Kai himself, he would inevitably encounter some unexpected situations during alchemy, leading to failure and scorching of the medicinal liquid. This was an unavoidable situation for any alchemist. But this kind of common occurrence had never happened to Yang Kai. Every set of herbs was turned into pills, and although the quality of the pills was slightly different because of the heat and timing, as time passed, the quality of the burning flame pills he refined became better and better. Almost all of the medicinal efficacies of the herbs he refined were brought out. Was this the true horror of conflagrated knowledge? Zhong Ao was in a daze. As soon as Yang Kai finished speaking, Zhong Ao gave him a look of disdain. This old master is not a fool. This has nothing to do with luck. Do you think I can't see it? Little brat, don't be so stingy, quickly speak frankly and this old master will give you some benefits. He couldn't wait to invade Yang Kai's knowledge and pry into his consciousness. Yang Kai shook his head. Old Zhong, you also know that every school regards their alchemy techniques as treasures and cannot easily be divulged. Smelly brat, didn't you pry into this old master's spirit array in his medicine field before? Then you flipped through many ancient books in this old master's study. When did this old master ever say a word about it? Zhong Ao couldn't help glaring at Zhong Ao. Elder Zhong's words are wrong. It is a Zhong's duty to guide the younger generation. Moreover, what I have seen is just a side branch of the Zhong family. But, my method of refining pill veins is different. This is the core secret of my family. How can it be compared to those spirit arrays? This old master doesn't care. If you don't tell me today, this old master will crack open your skull and refine your soul. Shameless, actually acting shamelessly. Yang Kai despised Zhong Ao in his heart. But he also knew that Zhong Ao was just spouting nonsense. With Zhong Ao's identity and strength, if he really wanted to force Yang Kai to tell him this, there was no need for him to go through so much trouble, he could just do it directly. Zhong Ao acting shamelessly now was obviously because he had no other choice. He was extremely envious of Yang Kai's method of refining pill veins, to the point that he didn't care about his identity. If worst comes to worst, this old master will worship you as his master. Zhong Ao snorted, his expression firm, not feeling there was anything wrong with it. Yang Kai stared at Zhong Ao in amazement, not having expected Zhong Ao to even say such shameless words, greatly admiring him in his heart. However, Zhong Ao still shook his head. Old Zhong, it's not that this junior doesn't want to make things easier, it's just that this method cannot be learned by others. Back in Nine Heavens Holy Land, Zhong Ao had taught the alchemy grandmasters of Tongxian realm how to refine pill veins using this method, and although they had some gains, they were far from reaching Yang Kai's level. It wasn't until Xia Ning Chang arrived that he was able to compete with Yang Kai. In the end, it was all because of his conflagrated knowledge. See, whether or not this old master learns it, this old master will work hard. There's no need for you to worry. Zhong Ao's face gradually became fierce. In order to figure out the mysteries of this pill veins, his face was worth nothing. Yang Kai was helpless. He had already expected such a situation to occur, hesitating for a moment before asking, Old Zhong, how about we exchange? Exchange what? What else does this old master have that you want? Your method of large-scale alchemy. I want it, Yang Kai said bluntly. Yang Kai had never seen anyone who could refine dozens of pills at the same time. Zhong Ao's alchemy skills were quite skilled, and he even had the ability to establish his own sect. Zhong Ao could open dozens of pill furnaces at the same time just by using his Saint Qi in alchemy. Yang Kai had both Saint Qi and spiritual energy, both of which could be used in alchemy. Once he learned Zhong Ao's method, it wouldn't be difficult for him to carry it forward. Take a look for yourself. The ring on Zhong Ao's hand flashed and he tossed a simple book to Yang Kai without hesitation. Yang Kai caught this book and flipped through a few pages, quickly discovering that this was indeed Zhong Ao's own alchemy method. There was a very detailed introduction to it, presumably written by Zhong Ao in order to pass it on to his successor. Now it had been given to Yang Kai. Yang Kai nodded lightly, put the book into his space ring, and sniffed, these pill furnaces, I'll give you 10. Zhong Ao waved his hand. Although he was forthright, his face still twitched slightly. It could be seen that he was extremely distressed. Back then, in order to collect these dozens of pill furnaces, he had traveled thousands of mountains and rivers to collect the materials needed to make them. He had almost died several times, and after collecting the materials, he had personally found a familiar artificer and asked them to make it for him. It could be said that each pill furnace was the crystallization of his blood and sweat, a testament to his many years of hard work. Now that he was going to give away 10 of them, Zhong Ao's heart ached so much that it almost bled. Half. Yang Kai raised a finger and shook it. Zhong Ao stared at him with bloodshot eyes, his expression fierce, as if he couldn't wait to swallow him whole, but after hesitating for a long time, he nodded, half it is. In any case, if this little brat couldn't refine a burning flame pill with pill clouds, he would be enslaved for the rest of his life. At that time, wouldn't his things still belong to him? Zhong Ao had never been optimistic about Yang Kai being able to refine pill clouds, even if he had been greatly stimulated this past month. Unless Yang Kai's luck really defied the heavens and pill clouds suddenly appeared, Zhong Ao would have nothing to say. However, the chances of that happening were simply too small. Yang Kai grinned, not having expected things to go so smoothly. He had thought that Zhong Ao had lived alone for too long and had the arrogance of an alchemist, so he wasn't proficient in negotiation. How could he have known that the other party had other plans in mind? Old Zhong, have you never thought about refining a spirit array into a pill the moment it takes shape? Pill veins, to put it bluntly, are nothing more than a condensed spirit array. Otherwise, how could it maintain the medicinal efficacies of a pill for so long? Yang Kai looked at him with a smile. Refining a spirit array into a pill. Zhong Ao's eyes widened as he muttered to himself. At this moment, the shackles and barriers that had bound him for so many years seemed to have been torn apart by a sharp weapon, allowing him to see a wider world. In this world, he could soar freely, unfettered and unfettered. Alchemists needed to use spirit arrays when performing alchemy, and artifact refiners also needed to use spirit arrays when performing artifact refining. Many of the basic spirit arrays were the same, but since ancient times, spirit arrays have been considered by both alchemists and artifact refiners to be auxiliary to the refining process. During the refining process, various materials were perfectly integrated through the power of the spirit array, allowing it to display its peak effect. No one had ever told Zhong Ao that it was possible to refine spirit arrays into a pill. Old Zhong, there may be naturally formed pill veins, but the ones I refine are deliberately formed pill veins. Moreover, I also need to use my conflagrated knowledge C. Only by using my conflagrated knowledge C can I quickly carve out a perfect composite spirit array and perfectly display its power while refining a pill the moment it takes shape. I don't know how much of a difference you can make if you use your Saint Chi, but if you use this method, the chances of forming pill veins should be higher than your original method. Chapter 1071. As soon as Yang Kai finished speaking, he knew he had spoken in vain. Zhong Ao had already fallen into a trance, the look on his face constantly fluctuating, his eyes sometimes dim, sometimes overflowing with light. He was obviously experiencing an epiphany. Yang Kai shook his head and did not disturb him, instead focusing on recovering. 10 burning flame pills a day, 300 pills a month, of which 20 to 30% had formed pill veins. Such a result was enough for him to show disdain for the entire star territory. However, Yang Kai was not happy at all. Because even if he could refine more pill veins, he could not solve the crisis he was facing in Shuiyu. All he needed was a single burning flame pill that formed pill clouds. Every time he refined, Yang Kai went all out, not daring to be careless in the slightest. He used all his knowledge to the peak and devoted himself to alchemy. The probability of forming pill veins had greatly increased, and as he became more proficient in refining burning flame pills, this probability jumped from 20 to 30% to 40 to 50%. This also meant that almost half of the burning flame pills Yang Kai refined had pill veins, making them extremely valuable. If these things were given to a fire attribute cultivator, they could rapidly improve their strength, but now Yang Kai had tossed them aside, not caring about them at all. Every day after he finished refining, Yang Kai felt exhausted. Logically speaking, a mere 10 burning flame pills shouldn't have been able to make him so tired, but the enormous psychological pressure was pressing down on him like a mountain, making it difficult for him to breathe. As time passed, this pressure also became greater and greater. He deeply realized how difficult it was to form pill clouds. No wonder those alchemists who occasionally refined pill clouds would cry bitterly and sigh about their great luck. Now, he could not wait for his luck to fall upon him and solve this urgent problem. In contrast to Yang Kai's irritable mood and frown, Zhong Ao's face could be said to be radiant and in high spirits. Since Yang Kai's words had caused him to fall into an epiphany, he found that his alchemy skills had unknowingly improved by a large margin. In the past, when refining dozens of pills at the same time, he had to go all out to avoid any mistakes, but now, he could easily control the flames of dozens of pill furnaces. Moreover, through the method Yang Kai had taught him, he had also successfully refined pill veins. Although his success rate was not as terrifying as Yang Kai's, it was still a precious 1/10. 1/10, 1 out of every 10 pills he refined, 1 would form pill veins. This was something Zhong Ao's dream of before, but now it was a common occurrence. Zhong Ao had his own pride and perseverance, but in this matter, he was grateful to Yang Kai. If he had not helped him break through that barrier, Zhong Ao estimated that he would have walked further and further down the path of alchemy and eventually gone astray. Thinking so, Zhong Ao's impression of Yang Kai became more and more pleasing to the eye. He no longer cared about the fact that he had stolen half of his pill furnaces. Instead of disturbing Yang Kai, Zhong Ao spent all day familiarizing himself with the alchemy techniques Yang Kai had taught him, studying various spirit arrays, choosing the most suitable spirit array to form pill veins, and refining them the moment the pill took shape. His harvest was huge, and even his arrogant temper had become much more restrained. All day long, he was smiling, looking at everything in a festive mood. When Hengluo Chamber of Commerce's cultivator, who was responsible for transporting the herbs and collecting the pills he refined, came over, he could hardly believe his eyes. In the past, every time he came here, he would tremble with fear, as if he was walking on thin ice. He would quickly hand over the herbs to Zhong Ao, then take away the pills he refined and leave the mountain valley as if his but was on fire, fearing Zhong Ao would find trouble with him. Zhong Ao's face was always gloomy, as if he owed him millions of saint crystals. But recently, when he came over, Zhong Ao actually had a smile on his face and even said a few words to him, patting him on the shoulder and praising him for his hard work over the years. Finally, Zhong Ao even invited him into the palace for a cup of tea. The cultivator was so scared that his face turned ashen, repeatedly saying that he didn't dare, and hurriedly fled. After reporting what happened to Zhong Ao to Holly Ka, Lin Mufeng, and the others, none of them knew what was wrong with Zhong Ao and could only vaguely guess that it had something to do with Yang Kai. All of them were very concerned about the progress of this matter, because if Snow Master was unable to wake up, one of them would be punished, most likely implicating the entire branch. In a fit of anger, the third young master might arrange for them to be sent to An or Star to mine. However, none of them had the courage to inquire about this matter, so every day felt like a year and they could only wait for Yang Kai to take the initiative to send them news. On this day, Yang Kai finished another round of alchemy, the expression on his face gloomy, as if he had been shrouded in dark clouds, sitting cross-legged, motionless. Zhong Ao walked over, looked at the mountain of burning flame pills he had thrown aside, and asked, "How many batches of materials have you consumed?" 6 months, more than 1,800. Yang Kai replied casually. More than 1,800. Zhong Ao took a deep breath. 700 to 800 burning flame pills have formed pill veins. Little brat, being able to accomplish this much is enough for you to be proud. What else are you not satisfied with? I only want one pill that forms pill clouds. Yang Kai looked up at him. Even if all those pills form pill veins, they're worthless to me. Is that little girl that important to you? My life is connected to hers. Do you still think she's important? Yang Kai smiled bitterly. Connected to your life. Zhong Ao's expression changed slightly as he pondered for a moment before muttering, "Soul chains." So old Zhong knows. Of course this old master knows, only the soul chains can connect two people's lives. It's a soul skill cultivated by one of the foreign elders of Hengluo Chamber of Commerce. No wonder when I examined her last time, I felt an invisible connection between the two of you. Who is this little girl to Ao? How did you end up like this? Zhong Ao was old and experienced, so from all kinds of clues, he was able to infer that the relationship between Shuiyu and Ao was not shallow. Otherwise, there would be no such thing as the soul chains. Yang Kai shook his head, not wanting to talk about it, and not wanting to talk about it, he simply said, "Old Zhong, I now understand what you often say." Zhong Ao laughed. Pills are difficult to refine. When others hear this, they only think this old master is showing off his alchemy skills, but how many people can understand the bitterness involved? Fortunately, little brat, you finally understand. He was finally not alone and had brought Yang Kai into his bosom friend. Seeing Yang Kai remain silent, Zhong Ao paused for a moment before continuing, you only have less than 200 sets of herbs left to refine the burning flame pill, which will be consumed in less than a month, and that little girl won't live for more than half a year. What are you going to do? And there's still time to ask Holly Ka to collect more herbs, but even if you do, you won't have many chances to try again. Yang Kai sat in place and thought for a long time before saying, I'm going out for a walk. Saying so, he stood up and walked out. Zhong Ao looked at his back and nodded lightly. Sometimes, when a person was unable to achieve something after a long period of hard work, using other things to divert their attention and relieve their mood and nerves was undoubtedly the best way to do it. Although there was a chance of success in going down a dead end, it would often cause a person to develop a mental barrier, and the possibility of going crazy would be greater. Zhong Ao's own experience was the best example. His 100 years of painstaking effort in alchemy was not as good as Yang Kai's words. It was just that no one could enlighten Yang Kai now, so he really needed to go out for a walk. Perhaps he would find some inspiration that would help him find the right path. Arriving at Shui Yu's room, Yang Kai stayed for a while to check on her situation. Since he began refining the burning flame pill, Yang Kai had not come to see her. After half a year, Shui Yu's condition showed signs of worsening, and the vitality Zhong Ao had been maintaining was constantly being consumed, causing her snow-white skin to show faint traces of frost. Yang Kai knew that this was because the suppressed profoundine sunflower water was once again playing a role. If he couldn't refine a burning flame pill with pill clouds, Shui Yu would really die. It was impossible for Holly Ka to collect more herbs. If he couldn't find a way, even if he collected more herbs, it would be useless. Leaving Zhong Ao's palace without saying a word, Yang Kai didn't pay much attention to where he was going and simply summoned his star shuttle and flew off. Crossing the famous mountains and rivers, crossing the jungles and swamps, Yang Kai stood from the perspective of an outsider, coldly observing rainfall stars' culture and ecology, the richness of the earth, the endless number of cultivators, and even the prosperity and suffering of ordinary people. Yang Kai watched with great interest. Gradually, his anxious mood calmed down and the big stone that had been hanging in his heart for a year slowly disappeared. Yang Kai became relaxed and no longer worried about the crisis facing Shui Yu and himself. Staying in one small town after another, Yang Kai left behind his own life aura and footprints. Watching the conflicts between the big and small families over various interests, blood splashing everywhere and corpses littering the ground. Seeing how the sects were recruiting disciples, many warriors with low cultivation bases would participate in the recruitment process in high spirits, but they would be mercilessly eliminated. Seeing a group of people fighting over an artifact, the brotherhood of the past was worthless, stabbing each other in the back and ruthlessly turning against each other. Seeing those whose strength reached the heavens and who could summon clouds and rain with a wave of their hand, receiving the respect and admiration of others. Seeing a woman bathing in the mountains, unable to hold back, stealing a few more glances before being hunted down by dozens of young women from unknown sects. Yang Kai fled in panic, like a stray dog, drinking wine, drinking until he was drunk. Yang Kai had never experienced such an unrestrained and carefree life. He no longer worried about finding Su Yan's whereabouts, he no longer considered whether he would be implicated after Shui Yu's death, nor did he miss his friends and family on Tongxian realm. The whole world revolved around him, making him feel an indescribable sense of carefreeness. Living a solitary life made him feel unrestrained and unrestrained. He felt that he was omnipotent. Somewhere in the mountains, a Saint Realm cultivator was fighting with an 8th Order monster beast, a Blue Eyes fire dragon. The cultivator's goal was an origin-grade blue blood flower that the Blue Eyes fire dragon was guarding. Just as the battle began, young Kai happened to pass by. He didn't interfere and simply watched from a distance. Chapter 1072. The Saint Realm, on this rich rainfall star, was not a particularly strong realm, but there were plenty of such cultivators in the crowd. Young Kai stood on a high slope, holding a wine bag in his hand, drinking and watching. He didn't intend to take action, instead deciding to just watch the show. The cultivator was obviously not the opponent of the Blue Eyes Flame Dragon Beast. Covered in blood, his appearance was a mess, and after several close calls, his defensive artifacts had been shattered and his abdomen had been pierced by the Blue Eyes Flame Dragon Beast's sharp horn, causing him to bleed profusely. Young Kai felt that this cultivator was destined to die, but just as he was about to leave, the battle suddenly took a turn for the worse. The Eighth Order monster beast, which had originally occupied the absolute upper hand, was forced to retreat again and again as it roared angrily. When the cultivator's defensive artifacts were all destroyed, he actually erupted with unimaginable strength, abandoning all his defenses and charging towards the Blue Eyes Flame Dragon Beast with a fearless attitude. Half an hour later, the Blue Eyes Flame Dragon Beast's internal organs and blood spilled all over the ground as it fell dead. The Saint Realm cultivator was also gasping for breath, stuffing a large number of restorative pills into his mouth, but no matter how hard he tried, he was unable to suppress his injuries, causing blood to gush out of his body as his vitality rapidly drained away. The gap in strength was simply too great. Although the cultivator had finally killed the Blue Eyes Flame Dragon Beast, he had only been able to take it down with him, which was the limit of what he could do. Young Kai walked over with the wine bag in his hand and stood in front of him, looking down at him. The cultivator's dim and panic-stricken eyes seemed to glow as he struggled to reach out his hand towards young Kai, as if he was trying to grab hold of his life, but all he could do was grab at thin air. His face was filled with a desire to live. Young Kai took a sip of his wine, squatted down, and without saying a word, squeezed out a drop of golden blood from between his fingers and dripped it into the cultivator's open mouth. Demon God Golden Blood had an extremely powerful restorative ability. Young Kai had relied on it to escape death several times. However, he always felt that his Demon God Golden Blood was on a completely different level from the one great demon god once possessed. A single drop of great demon god Golden Blood contained infinite power and all kinds of mysteries. Young Kai had been able to spy on a divine technique he had cultivated from it, and even Demon General Schwelly had obtained great benefits from it. Although there was a huge difference in quality, it more or less had some healing properties. Instantly, the cultivator's face was covered in a faint golden light, his expression one of shock and amazement as he felt his condition and the aura of death as he felt the aura of death, he regaining confidence he would survive. He looked at young Kai in confusion, not knowing why this passing stranger would save his life. But young Kai's saint's eyes. Realm young Kai's of life and death, you realm cultivators to thank, you, I to thank, I, to this point, to help you to help you life and you to help you. Saying so, young Kai threw the empty wine bag on the ground and strode away, his laughter echoing behind him. After a long time, the cultivator struggled to sit up straight and stared in the direction young Kai had left, a look of confusion on his face. He didn't know what young Kai was thanking him for, only thinking that this young man had some kind of mental problem. However, the other party had indeed saved his life, this was indisputable. The Saint Realm cultivator who had fought the Blue Eyes Flame Dragon Beast to the death had won the final victory not because of his strength, but because of his indomitable momentum. He was sure he could win because he knew that if he didn't win, he would die. So he won, even though he had almost died together with the Blue Eyes Flame Dragon. From that battle, Kai Yang had been inspired, which was why he had saved his life. During the first 6 months of alchemy, Yang Kai's repeated failures had increased the pressure on him, making him wonder what would happen if he failed every time he performed alchemy. With all kinds of distracting thoughts lingering in his mind, it would be strange if he could refine pill clouds. But now, Yang Kai's mind was clear. He burned the nearly 200 sets of herbs not to put himself in a desperate situation, but to strengthen his conviction. He wanted to see if his conviction would be shaken after these 200 sets of herbs were burned. Yang Kai didn't waver, so he became more and more confident. Chapter 1073. Inside the alchemy room, only the subtle movements of the medicinal liquid inside the pill furnace could be heard. Zhong Ao hid his figure in the darkness, lest he disturb Yang Kai, even temporarily suppressing his breathing and stopping his heartbeat, making him look like a dead man. He stared intently at the pill furnace and the figure busily working in front of it. The pill was only halfway through the refinement process, but the medicinal liquid was still mixing under the effects of Yang Kai's conflagrated spiritual energy and various spirit arrays, causing fundamental changes. Inexplicably, Zhong Ao suddenly had a feeling. That was, the pill Yang Kai refined this time would at least give birth to pill veins. This kind of feeling was something Zhong Ao had never experienced before. Zhong Ao had been observing Yang Kai's alchemy for more than half a year, and although the chances of Yang Kai's pills forming pill veins were quite high, there were also times when he failed, and in the end, Zhong Ao would only obtain an ordinary burning flame pill. There had never been such a situation before. Yang Kai was still in the middle of refining, yet Zhong Ao was 100% sure that he would be able to refine pill veins. What kind of logic was this? Zhong Ao was secretly horrified and became more and more cautious, not wanting to miss a single detail. But no matter how he looked, Yang Kai's movements were the same as before, not increasing or decreasing. Even the spirit arrays he was portraying were the same ones he had seen thousands of times before. Even if he closed his eyes, he could tell what Yang Kai would do next and what spirit array he would portray. The only difference was the imposing manner, the aura of extreme self-confidence. It was this imposing manner that affected his judgment, allowing him to be certain that the pill would give birth to pill veins before it even came out of the furnace. Could pill clouds form or not? There was only one chance for success or failure, so Zhong Ao couldn't wait to know the final answer. He couldn't help admiring Yang Kai, because if he were in his position, he would definitely be upset and under pressure. Once this kind of feeling appeared, he would not be able to wholeheartedly focus on alchemy and failure would be inevitable. But Yang Kai didn't. He remained indifferent, his expression neither happy nor sad, as if he was refining an insignificant pill. His movements were steady and meticulous, as if he had done everything he could to the limit. As time passed, Zhong Ao's heart burned with anxiety. A faint pill fragrance gradually drifted out from the alchemy room. This was a sign that the pills were about to be refined. Yang Kai's expression seemed to have become a little more dignified. Every time a pill was about to come out of the furnace, he would treat it 1,000 times more carefully. His conflagrated spiritual energy fluctuated between strong and weak. Strands of divine sense continued to carve the spirit array inside the pill furnace. All the subtleties of the spirit array were brought to the extreme by him. His eyes and heart had always been as clear as a mirror, without any distracting thoughts. At this moment, he had even forgotten about the pill furnace in front of him and the pill that was about to take form. In his mind, he suddenly recalled the pill that had formed pill clouds. That was the first and only pill he had obtained that had formed pill clouds. He had found it with the Holy Land's holy maiden and Ling in the ruins at the bottom of the sea. Although he had swallowed it in the end, and the huge medicinal effects had turned the 5-colored soul-warming lotus into a 6-colored one. Before he had taken it, he had been observing the pill clouds in an attempt to gain some inspiration. At this moment, all kinds of memories came flooding back to him, and he vaguely grasped a key point. Things that he had previously been unable to understand suddenly became clear at this moment, causing his eyes to widen as they bloomed with a different kind of light. After the last set of composite spirit arrays were carved and the brand was placed inside the pill furnace, Yang Kai's conflagrated spiritual energy burst out and began refining this composite spirit array into the pill that had not yet been fully formed. Yang Kai's Saint Qi and spiritual energy flowed out of his body at the same time. Like a landslide, like a tsunami, like a river bursting its banks, Yang Kai's knowledge sea dried up in an instant and the water level dropped to its lowest point. A huge amount of his Saint Qi also flowed out in an instant. Yang Kai's vision went dark and he almost fainted. He felt as if his life force was being sucked out of him, as if he would die in the next moment. A strong pill fragrance filled the air from the pill furnace, one that was much richer than the 1,800 burning flame pills Yang Kai had refined before. A crisp sound came from the pill furnace, one that was extremely pleasant to the ear. Yang Kai grinned and froze in place. Zhong Ao's heart almost jumped out of his chest. How could he not see Yang Kai's abnormality the moment the pill was about to take shape? This kind of abnormality almost drove him crazy. He thought Yang Kai had succeeded. But after waiting for a long time, Yang Kai still didn't move. After calling out a few words softly but not getting any response, Zhong Ao cautiously stepped forward and quietly released his divine sense to investigate. After a quick glance, Zhong Ao couldn't help feeling stunned. Yang Kai's face was frighteningly pale, as if he had just fought a powerful enemy. His aura was unstable and his vitality was extremely weak. Yang Kai had closed his eyes and passed out, but he wouldn't die. He would only need a few days to recover. Not paying any attention to Yang Kai, Zhong Ao's hand trembled as he patted the pill furnace in front of him. A pill flew out and was caught by the jade bottle in Zhong Ao's hand. Taking a deep breath, Zhong Ao stared intently at the jade bottle. At first glance, Zhong Ao couldn't help showing a disappointed look. The burning flame pill in the jade bottle had a smooth surface, but where was the trace of a pill cloud? There weren't even any pill veins. Did he fail? Zhong Ao's expression was complicated. Just now, when Yang Kai had performed alchemy, he had almost believed that he would succeed, but he hadn't expected the final result to be so miserable. When he woke up and found that the last burning flame pill he had worked so hard to refine was just an ordinary pill, Zhong Ao couldn't help but wonder if he would faint again. Zhong Ao let out a heavy sigh. He had lived for many years and knew that sometimes there was a huge gap between dreams and reality. How many times had he struggled between dreams and reality, only to be wounded by the thorns in the gap? Yang Kai was still just a young man, so it wasn't surprising that he had such an experience, but since he had failed to refine a pill cloud and refused to go to Water Moon Star to ask for help, it seemed that he really was on the verge of death. Zhong Ao couldn't help but sigh. After spending some time together, Zhong Ao clearly recognized Yang Kai's talent in alchemy. He really couldn't bear to see Yang Kai die so young. In his mind, he was already thinking about how to comfort Yang Kai as an elder after he woke up. At this time, what he needed most was comfort and encouragement. While thinking about this, Zhong Ao's expression suddenly changed. He noticed that the surrounding world energy aura had become a little strange. Releasing his divine sense, Zhong Ao cried out in horror. For some reason, the huge amount of world energy between the heavens and earth was madly gathering towards him, creating a scene even more terrifying than when Yang Kai had been cultivating before. High up in the sky, The rich world energy had almost condensed into a tangible existence, like a giant dragon soaring through the 9 heavens. A huge suction force suddenly emerged from the jade bottle in Zhong Ao's hand, and the newly refined burning flame pill seemed to have a life of its own as it began to pulsate inside the jade bottle, making a tinkling sound. The giant dragon soaring in the sky swooped down like a deity and bombarded the palace Zhong Ao had lived in for 100 years. With a loud bang, half of the palace collapsed and several dozen rooms were reduced to rubble. All kinds of wood flew towards Zhong Ao but was repelled by the Saint Chi he was using to protect himself. The world energy visible to the naked eye poured into the jade bottle, but the jade bottle was unable to withstand such pressure and directly shattered. Zhong Ao's eyes widened as he clearly saw the massive dragon of world energy being swallowed up by a small burning flame pill. This newly refined burning flame pill seemed to have become a bottomless abyss, swallowing up as much world energy as it came, without any bottom line at all. A strong wind blew past Zhong Ao's ears, blurring his vision as sand and stones flew everywhere. The thousands of mu of medicine field was destroyed beyond recognition. Zhong Ao saw many of his precious herbs being blown away by the wind before being crushed. His face twitched as his heart bled. These medicinal herbs were personally cultivated by him. Every single one of them was infused with his blood and sweat. Now that a spiritual energy storm had swept over, the thousands of mu of medicinal fields were all affected. Many medicinal herbs were uprooted, and the remaining ones were also messed up in the fierce wind. Bastard! Zhong Ao's old face twisted as he couldn't help howling, baring his fangs and claws in the wind but unable to stop this disaster. Half an hour later, everything was calm. Amidst the ruins, Yang Kai was still sitting cross-legged, the dozens of pill furnaces in front of him motionless, still maintaining their original positions. However, Zhong Ao's palace had collapsed, and even the unconscious Shuiyu was buried deep underground. Zhong Ao was too lazy to care about the little girl. He held a new jade bottle in his hand, and inside the jade bottle was a pill. He stared at his thousands of acres of medicinal field in a daze, the muscles on his face twitching uncontrollably. The thousands of mu of medicine field had all been affected, and almost none of them remained intact. More than 90% of the herbs that used to flourish had been lost, and the remaining 10% were dim and on the verge of dying. The leaves and fruits of more than a dozen sky-sun fruit plants had disappeared, leaving only bare trunks. These sky-sun fruits would be of great use in another 10 years. Half an mu of sparrow lotus flowers had long since disappeared, and even that half an mu of land had been plowed several times, leaving the ground half a foot lower than usual. Where did this old master's 1,000-plate flowers go? Zhong Ao rolled his eyes weakly, but where were the 1,000-plate flowers that he regarded as precious to him? Where the 1,000-plate flowers once grew, only half of their roots remained. Zhong Ao's eyes rolled back and he almost fainted. Without even mentioning the loss of his thousands of mu of medicine field, Zhong Ao was shocked to find that the spirit array he had worked so hard to arrange in this mountain valley for so many years had been completely destroyed and could no longer play its proper role. Within 1,000 kilometers, the world had become dim and there wasn't even a trace of world energy remaining. The sound of fluttering robes quickly approached from afar as Holly Ka, Lin Mu Feng, and the middle-aged woman led many masters from Heng Luo Chamber of Commerce over. When the heavenly might appeared here, they had already noticed it, but they didn't know what had happened so they quickly came to investigate. When they arrived and looked around, everyone was dumbstruck. For a moment, they didn't dare to believe their eyes. Chapter 1074. It was unknown what kind of disaster had befallen this mountain valley, but Zhong Ao's palace had been destroyed, his thousands of acres of medicine field no longer existed, and the spirit array around the mountain valley had also been destroyed. Zhong Ao himself seemed to have lost his soul, sitting on the ground without a care for his image, his body covered in dust and his eyes spitting fire. Only Yang Kai sat cross-legged among several dozen pill furnaces and broken walls, motionless. What happened? Holly Ka and the others were dumbfounded. This was a restricted area on Rainfall Star, and no one dared to come here on normal days. None of them could understand why this place seemed to have been plundered. The several of them exchanged a glance before daring to fly down and stand beside Zhong Ao. Holly Ka cautiously called out and asked, "Old Zhong, what happened here?" Lin Mu Feng even shouted angrily, "Did some blind fool come here to make trouble? Old Zhong only needs to tell us, we will definitely help you vent your anger." The middle-aged woman nodded fiercely, her beautiful eyes filled with murderous intent. Zhong Ao raised his head and stared at them blankly for a moment before suddenly jumping up and pointing in the direction of Yang Kai viciously. "It was that little bastard who destroyed my medicine field and destroyed my palace. This old master doesn't even have a place to live now, and all the herbs I have painstakingly cultivated for 100 years are gone. If you really want to help this old master vent his anger, kill him for me." Spittle rained down on the faces of the three old men as they stood there, not daring to move. After a long time, Holly Ka smiled and tried to appease him. "Old Zhong, please calm your anger. What happened here? Weren't you helping Master Shui refine some healing pills? When I came here a few days ago, everything was fine, so how did this happen after a few months?" He could also see that although Zhong Ao was furious and had ordered them to kill Yang Kai to vent his anger, it was all empty talk. Yang Kai was meditating at the moment and looked extremely weak. If Zhong Ao really wanted his life, why would he need to borrow others' hands to do it? Even at his peak, Yang Kai could not have been Zhong Ao's opponent, let alone now. "Who told you that this old master was refining pills?" Zhong Ao shot them a sideways glance. "If it wasn't you who refined it, could it have been little brother Yang who refined it?" Lin Mu Feng laughed dryly. Zhong Ao rolled his eyes and did not explain. He knew that even if he told the truth, no one would believe him. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, Zhong Ao would have thought that it was just nonsense. However, the pill in the jade bottle in his hand was solid evidence. This little brat was really able to refine a Saint King grade pill with pill veins with just a third-order Saint Realm cultivation. "Get lost, all of you get lost." Zhong Ao waved his hand impatiently. "This old master has been alone here for 100 years, 100 years of peace and stability, but this smelly brat has turned this place into a mess. If any of you dare come within 100 kilometers of this place in the future, this old master will twist off your head." The three Origin returning realm masters couldn't help but shrink their heads and retreat, not daring to stay any longer. Not long after they left though, Zhong Ao's voice called out from behind, "Wait." Holly Ka turned around and said with a flattering smile, "Does old Zhong have any orders?" Zhong Ao pointed to the dilapidated palace and said, "Find some people and build another residence for this old master. You don't have any foresight at all. Do you want me to sleep in the wilderness?" Holly Ka quickly shouted. They had brought a lot of cultivator with them this time, leaving behind a dozen or so to arrange for them to help Zhong Ao build a residence before leaving. The 10 or so people also scattered in all directions. It seemed like they were searching for materials to build a house. Zhong Ao glanced at Yang Kai, who was still unconscious, and then looked at the burning flame pill in the jade bottle in his hand, a trace of disappointment appearing on his face. After 3 full days, Yang Kai woke up. A strong sense of weakness spread throughout his body, causing Yang Kai to be startled. Immediately recalling everything that had happened before he fell unconscious, he couldn't help smiling bitterly as he sent his divine sense into his knowledge sea to investigate. His knowledge sea was a bit dim, and the magnificent sea water that used to be there was now only a thin layer of liquid. The six-colored soul-warming lotus was sparing no effort to nourish his soul, but it would take at least 10 days for his knowledge sea to fill up again. Every muscle in Yang Kai's body was sore, and his saint chi had been consumed greatly. Yang Kai had never experienced such a feeling before. It was barely possible to say that he was injured, but it was also possible to say that he wasn't injured. Only an infinite sense of weakness enveloped him, as if a part of his vitality had been sucked out, causing him to feel like he was growing old. Standing up with difficulty, Yang Kai looked around and saw Zhong Ao standing not far away, glaring at him. This old man's face was gloomy to the point of being frightening, and his eyes were filled with a murderous light. Yang Kai sniffed, not knowing why Zhong Ao had put on such a terrifying appearance. After discovering the situation around him, Yang Kai immediately understood. Not wanting to provoke Zhong Ao, Yang Kai searched through the ruins for a while before taking Xueyu out from under a few wooden planks and finding a comfortable place to sit down on a mountain peak a few kilometers away. Before Yang Kai had time to catch his breath, Zhong Ao quietly appeared beside him. Yang Kai looked at him but didn't say a word, simply gasping for breath. "Aren't you going to ask yourself whether you succeeded or not?" Zhong Ao waited for a while before taking the initiative to ask. "I've done my best. That's enough for me." Zhong Ao stared at him deeply for a moment before nodding lightly. "Since you've said so, this old master won't hold you accountable for the losses you brought this time. In any case, he could ask Holly Ka and the others for compensation. They wouldn't dare refuse." Saying so, Zhong Ao threw the jade bottle he had been holding in his hand to Yang Kai. Yang Kai caught it and glanced at it, not showing much surprise or excitement, as if everything was within his expectations. Inside the jade bottle was an elixir. The elixir was covered in a layer of dense mist. Even with the jade bottle as a barrier, it still emitted a dense energy fluctuation. It was as if this pill had a life of its own and was pulsing rhythmically. Pill clouds. This was a burning flame pill that had formed pill clouds. When that time comes, do you think they would exchange a single star for it? Listening to what Zhong Ao said, Yang Kai really felt that this was possible, even if it was a bit exaggerated. "Are you still willing to give this pill to this little girl?" Zhong Ao stared at him deeply before turning his eyes to Xueyu, who was lying unconscious nearby. "She's about to lose her life, what's there to be reluctant about?" Yang Kai sneered. Wasn't the reason he spent so much effort refining this burning flame pill just to give it to Xueyu? Zhong Ao's face twitched slightly as if he wanted to say something, but in the end, he restrained himself and waved his hand. "Forget it, this is your own pill, you can decide for yourself, but you have to tell this old master how you managed to refine pill clouds." "I don't know," Yang Kai shook his head. Zhong Ao almost coughed up blood. Zhong Ao nodded. "This old master has also lived freely on Rainfall Star for 100 years. As long as they don't interfere with my alchemy, anything can be discussed. Joining or not joining is just a matter of name. If they annoy this old master, can't this old master just leave?" Yang Kai couldn't help feeling a little guilty. Zhong Ao wasn't a good person. Not only was his temperament strange, but he also had a high opinion of himself. Yang Kai also knew that this old man had repeatedly tried to kill him before. But in any case, this time he was the one taking the blame. Although this would make his reputation even greater, this wasn't what Zhong Ao wanted. Truly capable people didn't care about reputation. Only those who chased after power and wealth would work hard to climb up the social ladder. This time, young Kai had dragged Zhong Ao down and caused him to lose a lot of his freedom. Zhong Ao had likely only accepted this because Yang Kai had taught him the alchemy method. Both Yang Kai and Zhong Ao were well aware of these things. What's the situation of that little girl? Zhong Ao didn't want to talk about it anymore and changed the subject. The poison from the profound sunflower water should have been removed and her vitality is stable, but she is still in a coma. If we want to wake her up, we need to find her soul avatar. Yang Kai frowned. He had just checked Shui Yu's knowledge sea but couldn't find any trace of her soul avatar. He really didn't know where Shui Yu's soul avatar was hiding. Zhong Ao also frowned, calmly saying, "It stands to reason that she was injured by the profound sunflower water, so this kind of situation shouldn't have occurred. Her soul avatar must have disappeared for some other reason." Yang Kai's spirit shook. "Please enlighten me, Zhong Ao." Zhong Ao shook his head. "I don't know anything about that little girl, so how could I enlighten you? Since you are her guard, you should understand that she has some regrets in her heart. Many times, when a person is unconscious, it doesn't mean they are injured, but rather that they are unable to overcome a barrier in their heart. As long as they can overcome that barrier, they will naturally wake up." Yang Kai heard this and a thoughtful look appeared on his face, a moment later his eyes brightening, as if he had thought of something. Zhong Ao observed Yang Kai's expression and nodded lightly. This little brat was both intelligent and capable. Zhong Ao really couldn't understand why such a person would act as someone else's guard. After a long time, Yang Kai suddenly relaxed. "Have you found the reason?" Zhong Ao asked with a smile. "I have some clues, but whether it is true or not will need to be verified." Yang Kai chuckled, suddenly remembering something and asking, "Right, old Zhong, when I came over, why were Holly Ka and the others looking at me like that? Did something happen? Do you want to know?" Zhong Ao squinted at him. Yang Kai nodded. "This old master just told them that you, little brat, are deeply in love with that little girl, that when you fed her that medicine, you even chewed it up and fed it to her mouth." Zhong Ao winked, his expression as wretched as it could get. Yang Kai was furious. "You have the nerve to announce such a thing to the public. Do you have any decency at all?" Zhong Ao snorted. "This old master has taken on such a big pot for you, losing and giving away so many good things. Do you think that's all? Just wait for Shui Yu's third young master to arrive on Rainfall Star and peel off your bones. Ha ha ha, a little guard actually daring to have ideas about Shui Yu's woman. You really don't know life from death. If this old master were you, he would have left as soon as possible." Laughing loudly, Zhong Ao left in a good mood. "Old fart." Yang Kai glared at Zhong Ao bitterly, suddenly understanding why Holly Ka, Lin Mu Feng, and the others were looking at him with such strange eyes. The little bit of guilt he felt towards Zhong Ao disappeared, regretting that he hadn't made a bigger bet and snatched all of Yang Kai's profound sunflower water and medicine furnace. Old fogies really aren't good. Guizhu was like this, and so was Zhong Ao. However, Zhong Ao would never have imagined that the little girl he was talking about, the Master Shui that Holly Ka was talking about, was actually Shui Yu herself. Kissing Shui Yu's woman is nothing. This old master has even touched Shui Yu's body. Chapter 1076. Zhong Ao was right about one thing. This place wasn't a good place to stay for long. Water Moon Star probably didn't know whether Shui Yu was alive or dead yet, so once news was sent out here, it would be difficult to explain. Shui Yu also didn't want her biggest secret to be exposed. Yang Kai had to quickly restore her strength and lift the soul chain so she could fly freely in the sky and swim freely in the sea. After resting for half a month, Yang Kai received extremely generous treatment. Every day, he was treated to fine wines, delicacies, and rare spirit fruits as refreshments. It wasn't easy for him to restore his lost vitality and get rid of that endless sense of weakness. Yang Kai secretly decided that in the future, unless he was forced to, he would never attempt to refine pill clouds again. If his luck was good during alchemy and the pill formed pill clouds on its own, nothing could be said about it, but if he had to rely on his own efforts to form pill clouds, it was simply too exhausting and not worth the loss. Zhong Ao's palace in the mountain valley had been built. Holly Ka had sent out masters among masters, so it was a piece of cake for a dozen or so people to build a palace. However, Zhong Ao didn't go back because the world energy in the mountain valley was still thin and would likely take some time to recover before it reached the average level of rainfall star. The news that he had refined a burning flame pill that formed pill clouds had spread like wildfire. All of Rainfall Star's alchemists had come to pay their respects, but since they were all fellow alchemists, Zhong Ao couldn't afford to be rude, so every day he had to endure the torment and flattery of these people, not resting for a moment. Every time he saw this scene, Yang Kai secretly rejoiced that his original decision was a wise one. If he had taken the credit for refining pill clouds himself, it would have been impossible for such a harmonious scene to occur. Those old men and women would have only deliberately made things difficult for him in order to test his skills and methods before finally parting on bad terms. They would never admit that their abilities were worse than Yang Kai's, it would be an insult to them. Inside his room, Yang Kai sat cross-legged on the bed, helping the unconscious Shuiyu up and letting her sit across from him. Staring at her enchanting face, Yang Kai really didn't want to wake her up. The sleeping Shuiyu was the easiest to get along with. At his mercy, she wouldn't resist or complain, but once she woke up, she would only bring endless trouble and danger. However, Yang Kai had no choice but to wake her up. Lifting the soul chains required the consent of both of them, and now that Shuiyu's soul avatar was gone, without her consent, Yang Kai couldn't lift the shackles. Yang Kai's spiritual energy and spiritual energy's spiritual knowledge, so he sent it into Shuiyu's knowledge. In the next moment, Yang Yang's spiritual soul's spiritual senses spiritual soul. SSSSTTTT, STSSSSS he's nots he S2s he's. No matter when, investigating a person's sea of consciousness was a taboo for martial artists. This was something that only the most intimate of people would do. The sea of consciousness contained a person's life experiences and secrets. Looking at the secrets of the sea of consciousness was even more serious than stripping off someone's clothes. This was the worst form of humiliation. Last time, Yang Kai had been careful not to pry too deeply into Shuiyu's secrets because he didn't want to have too much to do with this woman. But this time, he had no choice but to do it. The sea breeze was gentle, and the sea was calm. Shuiyu's knowledge sea was a vast expanse of water, nothing else, unlike Yang Kai's knowledge sea, which was full of brilliant colors. This woman's life must be very boring. The situation in one's knowledge sea was a reflection of one's inner thoughts. From the state of one's knowledge sea, one could tell what kind of person they were. Shuiyu was a woman, but she was raised as a man by Ao and had to put on the airs of Shuiyu's third young master at all times. She may have long since grown tired of this kind of life, but she had no choice but to continue. It's not that I want to pry into your secrets, it's just that if I don't do this, I won't be able to wake you up. I hope you don't come looking for trouble with me in the future, Yang Kai muttered softly, his soul avatar diving into Shuiyu's knowledge sea. The warm sea water wrapped around Yang Kai's body, like small boneless hands caressing his body, giving him unimaginable stimulation and comfort. Yang Kai almost lost himself in this moment. The fusion of the divine soul was very frightening. During this process, both men and women could enjoy a pleasure that was thousands of times more intense than physical intercourse. That was a shudder that came from the depths of the soul. That kind of pleasure was like the most dangerous swamp. Once one fell into it, it was very difficult to pull out. Fortunately, this was not the first time Yang Kai had done this kind of thing. When he went to Ice Sect to find Su Yen, he had already fused his soul with her once, so he had some experience dealing with this kind of thing. Trying hard to restrain the trembling of his soul, Yang Kai constantly called out to his heart, reminding himself that now was not the time to indulge in pleasure. Gradually, that kind of pleasure weakened a lot and he regained control of his soul avatar, allowing him to calm down a little. He didn't know why, but the current situation made Yang Kai think of the word rape. Shueyu's soul avatar was nowhere to be found, so obviously she didn't feel anything and was unable to resist the invasion of Yang Kai's soul. If this wasn't rape, then what was? And it was the most vicious kind of rape. Fusing his soul with a woman who didn't feel anything was no different than fusing with a piece of wood. Thinking so, Yang Kai suddenly lost interest and the throbbing of his soul subsided. This kind of thing was the most boring and only those with twisted minds would do such a thing. Yang Kai's soul avatar scattered into the sea. Inside his knowledge sea, bubbles floated in the water, each of which contained a part of Shueyu's past, a part of her memories. Yang Kai carefully examined the information hidden in these bubbles. He saw a lot of scenes. A baby fell to the ground, a woman lying weakly on the bed, her face pale and bloodless, but when she heard the baby's cries, the most beautiful smile in the world bloomed on her face. The burly man waiting outside strode in and picked up the baby with trembling hands, ignoring the stains on the baby's body, intimately pressing his face against the baby's forehead and kissing it gently, radiating the radiance of fatherly love. Chapter 1077. Inside Shueyu's knowledge sea, Yang Kai's soul avatar began to emit strange fluctuations. He began to create a series of illusions, forcibly pouring them into the sea. From her infancy to her current age, in these illusions, she did not need to disguise herself, she did not need to always show a warm smile, nor did she need to live as a man. She grew up carefree, her parents were kind, her siblings lived in harmony, she could wear the most beautiful clothes, wear the most beautiful jewelry, she did not need to learn the boring etiquette, she did not need to cultivate day and night, she did not need to endure all kinds of torture. In these illusions, she was the happiest woman in the world. Every day, she would wander the streets with a few maidservants, occasionally revealing the tip of the iceberg of her beauty, making the men of an entire city roar with excitement. In these illusions, when she returned home, she would tell her parents about the trivial things she encountered, and her parents would listen quietly with a smile on their faces, living a happy and harmonious life. She even met a man who moved her heart, but because of her shyness, she could only look at him from afar, paying attention to his movements every day, too embarrassed to take the initiative to talk to him. What she didn't expect was that the handsome and elegant man actually came looking for her, defeated all his competitors, fulfilled all her father's harsh requirements, and married her. They got married and had children, the man plowing and the woman weaving. Although it was not a magnificent and wonderful life, they still helped each other and respected each other. Their children slowly grew up, and they gradually grew old, finally turning into a pile of yellow earth, their graves close together, as if they would never be separated. In these illusions, she obtained a perfect and regretless life. Yang Kai did this over and over again, tirelessly injecting the layers of illusions he constructed with his spiritual energy into Shueyu's knowledge sea, regardless of the consumption of his spiritual energy or his own exhaustion. Time passed, but Shueyu's knowledge sea remained the same, there was no movement. But at a certain moment, the calm sea suddenly tumbled and bubbles emerged from under the water, bursting into nothingness. A cool breeze blew and a wisp of fragrance seemed to linger at the tip of Yang Kai's nose. Yang Kai stopped what he was doing and turned his head to see Shuai Yu standing behind him with a smile, watching him with great interest. Yang Kai rolled his eyes and immediately escaped from her knowledge sea. Just as he opened his eyes, Shuai Yu also woke up and grabbed him, shouting, "Hey, why did you run away like a thief? You've already woken up, what am I doing there? Waiting to be tortured by you. In that place, you are the master, a little third-order saint cultivator, I don't dare stay," Yang Kai snorted. Everyone's sea of consciousness was under their own control. Therefore, when two people's strength was about the same, they would never invade each other's sea of consciousness. If they did, they would always be at a disadvantage. Only when there was a great disparity in strength would there be the possibility of invading another sea of consciousness and inflicting heavy damage on the enemy. I torture you. Why do you think I use me? If you didn't do anything wrong, why would I torture you? Shuai Yu refused to back down, her beautiful eyes narrowing slightly as a sharp light flashed across them. Fine, I admit, breaking into your knowledge sea without permission and prying into your secrets was wrong, but since you didn't want to wake up, I could only resort to this. Yang Kai shook off Shuai Yu's small hand that was grabbing him. Prying into my secrets, do you still think you're in the right? Shuai Yu ground her teeth angrily, a dangerous light flashing across her silver teeth. I didn't see much. Yang Kai looked embarrassed. Shuai Yu didn't speak and simply stared at him. Fine, I've already counted how many hairs you have on your body, so what? Are you going to bite me? Yang Kai said shamelessly. You bastard. Shuai Yu flew into a rage out of humiliation as she rushed over and bit down on the back of Yang Kai's hand, refusing to let go as she rolled her big eyes. Do you think I don't dare? Yang Kai remained unmoved and instead smiled. Biting my hand isn't satisfying enough. Do you want to go somewhere else? I have a better place for you to bite. Shuai Yu's face flushed red and her slender white neck glowed red as she quickly let go of Yang Kai's hand and spat, "In your dreams." In that illusion, she and the man she loved were inseparable, and all kinds of positions she could imagine and could never imagine entered her mind one by one. She received a systematic and perfect education. Of course she knew what Yang Kai's words meant. Although she also understood that it was only an illusion created by Yang Kai for her and was not real, she still couldn't bear it. After all, the woman in the illusion was modeled after her and looked exactly like her. It was like she really was a slut, constantly demanding and never knowing when to be satisfied. How can you be so obscene? Shuai Yu looked at Yang Kai with a strange look, as if she didn't expect this person to be such a rogue. I misjudged you. How is sex obscene? Yang Kai disdainfully curled his lips. When you really try it, you will understand the beauty of it. Even so, you didn't have to include yourself in that illusion, did you? Shuai Yu smiled sweetly as if she had discovered a secret. Her smile was very sly. In those illusions, you were really handsome. Did you really want me to marry you? Forget it, I can't handle a woman like you. Yang Kai quickly waved his hand. Get out. Shuai Yu's face changed faster than one could turn a page, and she was so angry that she kicked Yang Kai off the bed. Yang Kai stood up, patted his butt and said, Have a good rest. When you recover, I have something to tell you. Shuai Yu's face stiffened. She seemed to understand what Yang Kai was going to say, but she didn't say anything and closed her eyes. When Yang Kai came out of the room, he happened to see Zhong Ao leaning to one side and listening attentively. When he saw Yang Kai, he didn't feel embarrassed at all. Instead, he asked, You saved her? Yes. Yang Kai nodded. Amazing. Zhong Ao couldn't help but give him a thumbs up. But what were you doing in there? Why did it seem so lively? Aren't you her guard? Boy, this old master has to say, your courage is a bit too big, even daring to touch Shui Yu's third young master's woman. You should prepare to run away quickly, this old master hopes you don't die too early. If Shui Yu becomes angry, the entire Heng Luo star field will tremble. Zhong Ao may have been lonely for too long, but despite his age, his gossipy heart was no worse than a young man's. What he liked most was to see others flirting with each other. Every time he saw them, he felt like he had become several decades younger. Shameless. Yang Kai ignored him and went out to find Holly Ka, telling him about the current situation. When he heard that Shui Yu had woken up, Holly Ka was overjoyed and gave Yang Kai a big hug, his face filled with gratitude. Now that Shui Yu had woken up, their last worries had disappeared, and Zhong Ao on Rainfall Star had taken another step forward in the alchemic Tao. Now, as long as the Profoundine sunflower water problem was solved, everything would be fine. What's more, Shui Yu was still responsible for the Profoundine sunflower water issue, so even if the Chamber of Commerce blamed them, they would only receive a small punishment, not as serious as they had feared before. With all kinds of good news coming one after another, how could they not be happy? The several managers were in a good mood, and the entire branch was filled with joy. Time passed by, and in the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Since Shui Yu woke up that day, she had stayed in her room, declaring that her injuries had not yet healed and that she needed to heal. The injury she suffered from the Profoundine sunflower water had long been healed by the burning flame pill, and her soul had not been damaged, so why would she need to be healed? Although she had been in a coma for more than a year, with her cultivation, she would only need 2 or 3 days to recover. She was avoiding Yang Kai. Yang Kai was well aware of this, but there was nothing he could do. Every time he went to find Shui Yu, he would be stopped by several Saint King Realm cultivators standing guard at the door. These people didn't give Yang Kai any face, just smiling and telling him that this was an order from Shui Yu Master and that without her permission, no one was allowed to enter her room. Their attitude was very good, but their tone of refusal was firm. Yang Kai couldn't wait to beat these people up. Yang Kai was not happy, but Old Zong was also out of luck. Half of the Profoundine sunflower water had been taken away by Yang Kai, and half of the several dozen large and small pill furnaces had also been taken away by Yang Kai. Zhong Ao snorted in distress, but he was too embarrassed to act shamelessly. Zhong Ao was a man of his word, a loss was a loss, unlike Shui Yu who liked to use her strength to suppress others. Yang Kai also specifically asked for advice on how to refine the Profoundine sunflower water and enhance his own strength. Zhong Ao didn't conceal anything and told Yang Kai everything he knew. Yang Kai understood that although the Profoundine sunflower water was a precious treasure, if it wasn't properly refined, it would cost him his life. Furthermore, the refinement process required a wide variety of supplementary materials, as well as a scorching hot environment. Only by properly preparing the initial steps could one begin to refine it. All the auxiliary materials he needed, Kai Yang actually had all of them, not lacking a single one. On the floating continent, Yang Kai had harvested many high-grade herbs, countless Origin Grade and Origin King Grade, each of which was extremely valuable. All he needed was to find a suitable environment. According to Old Zong, it would be best to find the inside of a 10,000-year-old volcano, because only that kind of heat could suppress the chill of the Profoundine sunflower water. However, Zhong Ao said that Yang Kai's current strength was still too low, and that he would have to wait until he reached the Saint King realm before he could refine the Profoundine sunflower water, otherwise, not only would he fail to refine it, but he would also lose his life. Shui Yu's refusal to meet with him made Yang Kai very impatient and annoyed. On this day, when Yang Kai came to her room again, the Saint King realm masters who had been sent to guard her were still standing there with smiles on their faces, politely stopping Yang Kai from entering. Yang Kai's face sank. You may not know, but my Hingluo Chamber of Commerce also deals in the slave trade. Many of the young ladies of large and small families who have gone bankrupt or been exterminated are goods waiting to be sold. They all have good education and their aptitude and strength aren't bad. As far as I know, the strongest one has already reached the Saint King realm. If you want a noble young lady, you can have a noble young lady, but if you want a pretty girl, you can have a pretty girl. While adding oil and vinegar to Yang Kai's story, Shuayu secretly cursed him. She had offered him so many generous conditions, but he had remained indifferent, yet he was interested in this one. Shuayu couldn't wait to reach out and strangle him. But this man, Shuayu sighed helplessly in her heart. That's good, that's good. Yang Kai nodded fiercely. He had long yearned for beautiful maidservants. Back in Tongxian realm, there were too many acquaintances, so he didn't dare act recklessly, but now that he was in star territory, where the heavens were high and the earth was far away, it didn't matter what he did. Moreover, since he had become intimate with his little senior sister, Yang Kai found that he had become a bit more indulgent when it came to men and women, and he didn't reject the idea of playing around with strange women. Last time, in Shen Tu's palace, he had even indulged in a bit of debauchery, a feeling he still couldn't forget. You also think it's good? Shuayu still smiled sweetly, but she still grit her teeth and softly said, if you think it's good, then put your handprint on it. Once you put your handprint on it, you'll be one of my Shuayu's people. From now on, you'll be under my protection. If anyone dares to bully you, just report my name and I guarantee you'll be able to walk sideways in star territory. I'm not a crab, Yang Kai smiled and put the document back on the table. Shuayu stared straight at him, her beautiful eyes unblinking. Yang Kai sighed and didn't want to look her in the eye, saying, what's the point? You know what I really want, so what's the point of you taking out a slave contract? Who said it was a slave contract? Shuayu frowned, isn't it written that the contract will be signed every 5 years? After 5 years, if you're not satisfied, we can discuss it again. I just want you to have more time to think about it. After I sign it, I won't be able to leave for the rest of my life. Shuayu, let's unlock the soul chains. From now on, you walk your own path and I'll walk mine. Well, water won't interfere with river water, Yang Kai said sincerely. When Shuayu heard these cruel words, she suddenly felt tears welling up in her eyes, but she forced herself not to let them fall and raised her head slightly. Miraculously, those tears quickly disappeared, as if they had returned to her tear ducts. She gritted her teeth and said, I don't care, you've touched me, you've seen me, you've even penetrated my knowledge sea and pried into my secrets. You must sign the contract with me, otherwise, I'll suffer a great loss. You only have 2 secrets. Rest assured, I'll keep them safe and won't leak them out. I won't play around with my life, I also know how powerful you are, Yang Kai said sincerely. Shuayu became even more indignant, you really know that secret. Yang Kai scratched his cheek and said innocently, I didn't want to know. But who knew that in addition to being a woman, you were also hiding such a great secret? No wonder President Aio raised you as a man, he did it for your own good, don't blame him. For my own good. Shuayu's eyes suddenly flashed with a cold light as she said coldly, I haven't seen my mother for several decades. They said that in order to keep this secret, my father killed everyone who knew about it, including my mother. Is this also for my own good? Yang Kai didn't know what to say. He had also spied on Shueyu's words from her knowledge sea, but this was her family's business, so it was not convenient for him to comment. Moreover, no one knew whether or not Shueyu's mother had died, so Shueyu had only heard rumors. So what if I have the dragon marrow phoenix body? Could it be that everyone in the world can see through my physique and snatch me home? Shueyu shouted angrily, her full breasts heaving up and down in an enchanting arc. Keep your voice down. Yang Kai was shocked. Do you still want to live? Why are you shouting about such a thing? Seeing Yang Kai so nervous, Shueyu couldn't help feeling a little smug, the anger she felt just a moment ago having been thrown out of her mind. Instead, she smiled at him and said, "And you also know this secret, so why aren't you tempted at all? You should know what kind of benefits the dragon marrow phoenix body can bring you." "Of course I know." Yang Kai glanced at her. "According to the words of that person in your memories, any man who takes your primordial yin will obtain unimaginable benefits. Your Chamber of Commerce's moon slave business was inspired by your constitution, right?" Shueyu gently nodded, "Yes. You can say that I am the most outstanding moon slave in the Chamber of Commerce, it's just that no one knows about it. When I was unconscious, you clearly had a lot of opportunities, so I don't believe you weren't tempted. You aren't wholly to that degree." Her expression said she had already seen through his heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and kidneys. "Yes, I was tempted to death." Yang Kai nodded fiercely. "When I learned this secret, I couldn't wait to take off your clothes and take you." "Then why didn't you do it?" Shueyu's interest was piqued. "You also know that even if you did, I wouldn't blame you, at most I would just beat you." She spoke lightly, as if she wasn't talking about her own chastity, but about a woman she didn't even know. Yang Kai felt a headache coming on and thought about it for a moment before saying, "I'm a man of principles." Shueyu curled her lips, obviously not believing Yang Kai's words. "According to the old man who investigated your constitution, the higher your strength, the greater the benefits of taking you. You are now a third-order Saint King, so if I really wanted to take you, I'm afraid I could directly break through to the first-order Saint King realm." Yang Kai said lightly, "But so what? I don't need your body to reach that level, and it won't take long for me to do so. Do you believe I can achieve that in 3 years? Shueyu stared at Yang Kai in a daze, listening to his bold words, her beautiful eyes blurring as she nodded repeatedly, asking casually, "What if I wasn't a Saint King, but an Origin King?" Yang Kai looked her up and down for a moment before replying without hesitation, "Then you would already be mine." Chapter 1079. After a brief exchange of words, no one was able to convince the other. Inside the room, Yang Kai looked at Shueyu helplessly. Shueyu was constantly drinking tea to calm the resentment in her heart. The tea in the cup had long since been emptied by her, leaving only the air in it. The atmosphere was so heavy that it was almost maddening. "Are you really so heartless?" Shueyu suddenly opened her mouth, staring coldly at Yang Kai. This man's insistence had hurt her a little. Yang Kai shook his head. "Whatever you say, I'm going to leave. This time, I've suffered a big loss, so I don't want to associate my life with anyone else's, especially a woman like you. You have too many secrets. Once they are exposed, even Heng Luo Chamber of Commerce won't be able to protect you. If you die, I'll follow suit." Shueyu's dragon marrow phoenix body was a very special physique. It was not an exaggeration to say that she was the best moon slave in the Chamber of Commerce. When a moon slave was possessed by a man, they would only provide some subtle benefits to that man. But Shueyu was different. With her current strength, it was enough for Yang Kai to directly break through to the Saint King realm. As Shui Yu's strength improved, her physique would bring greater benefits to the first man who possessed her. Moreover, this kind of improvement was not just a simple increase in strength, but also in one's realm. There were too many masters in this world. Many people could cultivate for hundreds or thousands of years but still fail to break through a small realm. Shui Yu's body was the best tool for them to break through. President Aio had always been far-sighted and had raised Shui Yu as a man when she was only 3 years old, fearing that such a thing would happen. At that time, Shui Yu would only bring disaster to Hing Luo Chamber of Commerce. "How long can you bind me?" Yang Kai stared at Shui Yu indifferently, not showing any intention of avoiding the question. A forcibly picked melon is not sweet. "You and I both know that a large part of this is because of the soul chains and another part is because of your feminine heart. You've lived as a man for so long, but only in front of me can you let go of yourself and not worry about anything. The reason you want to keep me here is mostly because of this freedom, right?" Shui Yu remained silent. Yang Kai's words had hit the nail on the head, so she had nothing to refute. Yang Kai's expression gradually became solemn and proud as he lowered his voice. "You think I'm just a little third-order saint cultivator who can be ordered to do whatever you want, but have you ever thought to think about it? Since I am the first person from my homeland to enter the star field, then I am the most outstanding martial artist of that place. I am the master of that place." Shui Yu used to herself to this point. "Have you also to capture a monster beast to capture? Have you to capture too? To tame to ask to captures tame too? Shui I do still recall. Shui Yu couldn't help but think back to the past, the time when she had captured a king of beasts. That king of beasts was wild and difficult to tame, and it would attack people violently. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't make it obey her orders, and in the end, she had no choice but to kill it. Shui Yu opened her mouth but didn't know what to say. "Think about it carefully, I'll wait 3 days for you to give me an answer. I don't want to make things too awkward." Yang Kai glanced at her faintly before turning to leave. From his eyes, Shui Yu could see a kind of decisiveness. No matter what choice she made, Yang Kai would not stay as her guard, this man would simply leave. Without unlocking the soul chains, once he left, her situation would be worrisome. Shui Yu knew better than anyone how dangerous it was for a third-order saint cultivator to venture out into the outside world, so how could she feel at ease leaving her life in the hands of such a weak person? Her mind in a mess, Shui Yu grabbed the cup on the table and threw it to the ground, grinding her teeth for a long time before finally spitting out a few words, "Cruel and unscrupulous." Ever since she was a child, she had never been at a disadvantage in a confrontation. She had always held the initiative, whether her opponent was a man or a woman, old or young, as long as they fell into her hands, they could only be at her mercy. All the seniors in the Chamber of Commerce said that she was the best successor and the most outstanding one. She accepted such praise with a clear conscience. But in front of Kai Yang, she found that she was being suppressed everywhere. She didn't even have a chance to refute him, which made her very annoyed and also very unreconciled. Hiding in her room, Shui Yu sat cross-legged on her bed, silently circulating her secret art to stabilize her chaotic state of mind. Gradually, her breathing stabilized and she began to think about her relationship with Yang Kai from a different perspective, as well as the pros and cons of keeping him or letting him go. After leaving Shui Yu's room, Yang Kai slowly shook his head. He gave Shui Yu 3 days. After 3 days, no matter what choice Shui Yu made, he would stay as far away from this woman as possible. Perhaps it was because of the soul chains, but this choice made him feel a little reluctant. The several heads that were poking their heads over to watch this scene made Yang Kai feel even more uncomfortable. If they wanted to watch a good show, why didn't they find a better place to sit? Everyone's faces were filled with gossipy looks, as if they wanted to ask about the situation but were too embarrassed to open their mouths. Old Ha. Yang Kai beckoned to him. Holly Ka's face flushed red as he strode over with Lin Mu Feng and the others, pretending to be discussing something as they walked, their expressions extremely serious. Old Ha. When they came close, Yang Kai called out again. Little brother. Holly Ka looked unhappy. It's fine for others to call me Old Ha, but it's a bit inappropriate for you to call me that. Although I don't mind, it wouldn't be good if outsiders were to hear you call me that. Shui Master needs some materials to cultivate, take me to the storehouse. Yang Kai ignored his protests. What does Shui Master need? Holly Ka froze for a moment but didn't ask any more questions, instead turning around and saying, Come with me, there are some good things in the storehouse, I just don't know if they'll be enough to enter Shui Master's eyes. Shui Master isn't very particular, Yang Kai sniffed. In any case, he was going to leave in 3 days. This time, in order to awaken Shuiyu, he had lost half his life and had spent so much time on Rainfall Star, so if he didn't obtain some benefits before leaving, he would be sorry. Especially when it came to Saint Crystals, Yang Kai didn't have a single piece left. Borrowing Shuiyu's name wasn't a big deal. By the time Shuiyu found out about this, he would have long since fled. In front of the storehouse, Holly Ka and Lin Mu Feng each held a key and opened the heavy door. Old Ha was an honest man, so he stood at the door of the storehouse and said, Go in and see for yourself, don't hesitate to take whatever you see, we'll be waiting here. Yang Kai nodded and walked into the storehouse. In an instant, a colorful light filled the storehouse, making it difficult for Yang Kai to open his eyes. This was the storehouse of Heng Luo Chamber of Commerce's branch, and the wealth stored inside was astonishing. There were all kinds of cultivation materials, artifacts, pills, and even space spirit crystals used to make space rings. Looking at the dazzling array of things, Yang Kai strode straight over to a pile of Saint Crystals. There were mountains of Saint Crystals here, low-rank Saint Crystals, mid-rank Saint Crystals, high-rank Saint Crystals. Yang Kai only took the high-rank Saint Crystals, taking almost 50,000 of them before stopping. With so many Saint Crystals, it should be enough for him to use for some time. After spending so much time in the Star Territory, Yang Kai had some understanding of the value of Saint Crystals and was no longer as confused as he was at first. 50,000 high-rank Saint Crystals was enough to buy an origin-grade high-rank artifact. After loading up the Saint Crystals, Yang Kai came to the place where the herbs were stored. Now Yang Kai had a lot of origin-grade and origin-king-grade herbs, but he couldn't use them for the time being. After all, his alchemy skills were still lacking. There weren't many Saint King grade materials, and his current alchemist rank just so happened to be mid-rank Saint King grade, so if he worked hard enough, he could even refine Saint King grade high-rank pills. Naturally, the more Saint King grade herbs he had, the better, as they could be used in alchemy to enhance his alchemy skills. Yang Kai didn't go overboard. When it came to profiting, there was a limit to how much he could take. He had to make others feel distressed and satisfied without creating a life or death grudge. Yang Kai grasped this limit very well and stopped after filling a ring with Saint King grade herbs. The 2 pitch-black round stones in the black book space were like bottomless pits that could never be filled. The ores Yang Kai had purchased on Water Moon Star last time had been completely consumed by them, so this time it was a good time to replenish them. Worthy of being the storehouse of a Chamber of Commerce branch, the grade of ores stored here was quite good. Yang Kai closed his eyes and stuffed everything inside, only stopping when he felt it was enough. Arriving at the territory where the artifacts were stored, Yang Kai looked around expectantly. He had hoped to find 1 or 2 useful artifacts here, preferably defensive ones. As for offensive artifacts, Yang Kai had always held an indifferent attitude. Compared to artifacts, Yang Kai was more willing to believe in his own strength. However, defensive artifacts were different. The more of these artifacts, the better, the easier it would be to protect his life. But after looking around for a while, Yang Kai was disappointed. There were a lot of artifacts here, but none of them caught Yang Kai's eye. The best artifact here was only Saint King grade high rank, and it was a long halberd. Kai Yang had never been interested in this type of weapon. Only those men whose brains were filled with muscles would like to use this type of artifact to show off their might. If he were to use it himself, it would definitely be neither fish nor fowl, and refining it would also take a lot of time. After searching for a long time, Yang Kai reluctantly gave up and left the storehouse. Holly Ka and Lin Mu Feng, who had been waiting outside, saw Yang Kai walk out but didn't ask what he had taken, nor did they check the damage inside, simply closing the door behind them. They were still hoping that when the people from the Home Star arrived, Snow Master would help them put in a few good words so that the Home Star would exempt them from punishment. Now that Snow Master wanted something from them, they naturally opened the door wide. Yang Kai couldn't help worrying about Heng Luo Chamber of Commerce. If the person in charge of every cultivation star was as irresponsible as Old Ha, wouldn't Heng Luo Chamber of Commerce suffer a huge loss? You're tuning into the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.